Hello, Play the Game family. Welcome to the show. Thank you for joining us. Today's episode of PTG is brought to you by the one and only Trans Labs that brought the world two amazing products. First off, Transfuse, which is a hydration multiplier, and most recently, they just dropped Transcend, which is a nootropic energy formula. No matter what you use, when you choose Trans Labs, you are going to be boosted and you are going to be ready to charge the paintball field and win out there. With Transfuse, that is a premium rapid hydration multiplier and immunity fortifying formula scientifically designed to replenish you at the cellular level. And they use all natural ingredients in this product. We've got zinc, we've got vitamin B6, we've got vitamin C, sodium, potassium, choline, and it is an amazing way to make sure that you're hydrated and prepared to play top level paintball. When it comes to Transcend, that is a premium nootropic energy formula designed to increase cognitive performance, elevate mood and clarity while supporting long-term brain health, and it's going to leave you feeling great with no crash or jitters. It's one of the only products in the nootropic space backed by research studies to ensure the formula is correct for optimal performance. It is more potent than anything on the market, and it will keep you charged and ready to win out there. I take 1 scoop, but if you're stimulant sensitive, take a half scoop, and if you want that LFG dose to launch to the moon, dump 2 scoops in your drink and you are going to be flying down that paintball field. Comes in 2 delicious flavors, Baja Blast and Skittles Candy for the Transcend. And for the Transfuse, they have 2 new flavors as well, Pineapple Express and Hawaiian Punched. So if you get a chance, head over to translabs.com. That's TRANZLABS.com. Use code PLAYTHEGAME and you'll get 10% off. If you subscribe to a monthly delivery service, you also get 10% off as well. So you could take advantage of 20% off on these products. Head over to translabs.com and give it a go.
This episode is brought to you by Sunday Paintball. Sunday Paintball is one of the most amazing brands in the business right now. Their whole mission is to be the Tom Shoes of paintball and give players more Sundays. What does that mean exactly? They are donating 50% of all of their profits on any of their things right back into the game to the players, to you guys that are listening right now. How exactly do they do this? Well, you could head over to their website, sundaypaintball.com. They have a tracker of how much money they have and will continue to give away. And what they do is they set up booths at events. They give out paint to teams. They give out, donations and gift certificates to different fields. They do an amazing job of giving back to the community that we all love, and it's really special. It's something that is very unique. We are incredibly appreciative and supportive of them because their passion is to help grow the sport. So if you guys could head over to sundaypaintball.com, check out any of their merchandise. They have so much cool stuff on their website. You can use code PLAYTHEGAME, get a 20% discount, and do a great thing by knowing that some of that money is going back to getting more players out to play on Sundays.
This episode is brought to you by Lone Wolf Paintball. They are an amazing online supplier and have been around since the beginning of the game as Michigan's premier paintball field and paintball supplier since 1987. They are rapidly expanding into the online retail space and supplying everything you need to be the best paintball player you can be. They have got it all. Head over to lonewolfpaintball.com and shop all of your favorite brands. And they also boast amazing customer service and will have this out to you with same-day shipping, which is amazing. It's always nice to know that your stuff is on its way immediately so you can start to use it that very next weekend of play. Check out their YouTube, Lone Wolf Paintball, and their Instagram, @LoneWolfPB, and stay up to date with all of their deals and sales. Play the Game podcast is immensely honored to have them on board, and we cannot wait for you guys to check out lonewolfpaintball.com and become a part of their community.
This episode is brought to you by our absolute favorite guy when it comes to taxes, David Roque. David is an accountant and paintball player from South Florida. He did all of our PTG and personal taxes last year, and I gotta say, David is the man. He's been filing personal and corporate taxes for 7 years, has clients all around the United States, so it doesn't matter where you're at, he will figure out the best way to maximize your personal or corporate returns. He's really attentive, really easy to get a hold of, and amazing to work with. His goal is to help provide the paintball community with an affordable accountant that can help you better maximize your personal and corporate returns. Just mention you play paintball or listen to the podcast, and he will hook you up with a nice deal to get your taxes done for under $175, which if you compare that to like H&R Block and all the other big services, that's pretty damn good. And again, he's a paintball player. We love supporting the paintball community. The community has really showed up and showed out. So we like to do the same. And like I said, David has made our experience with tax season really seamless, really effortless, and everything is done very efficiently. So if you guys need any tax help, do not hesitate. Make sure to hit up David Roque either via his Instagram, which is alpha_Roque97. That's ROQUE and the numbers 97, or by email at droque954@gmail.com. Again, that's D as in David, Roque, ROQUE954@gmail.com. All right. What's going on, PTG fam? Thank you guys so much for tuning into the show. This episode, we have one of the absolute legends of the game, a longtime friend, one of our old teammates, Bobby Aviles. Bobby is a dominator. He's just one of the most amazing, loving, caring, awesome personalities in the game of paintball, and he's just an absolute stud on the field. He retired, took a little bit of a break, but he's making his comeback, and this conversation was epic. We went the distance, so without keeping you here any longer, we're going to hop in the show.
That was an insane inside move by Marcelo Margot. Great communication. And the crowd starts chanting Harmon. Great shot by all the guys. So Tyler Harmon saved that game. He came out with 2 wins. Marcelo Margot was on fire.
PTG Nation, we got the man, the myth, the legend, Bobby Aviles on PTG, and we are stoked to have his story here. He is one of the greatest dudes of all time in the sport. The guy has been playing paintball for more time than most of you guys have been alive, and he's just, still in the industry, still having fun playing this amazing game. B-Cat, how you doing, bro?
I'm doing great, man. I really want to thank both of you for having me on board for today. Huge listening crowd out there, and very happy to be here, man. You guys are doing big things. Everybody out there is trying to do big things. It can only aspire to be 2 big dogs like you. I appreciate you having me.
B-Cat,
you're the biggest dog in the room. We know.
He's the biggest cat in the room. We gotta say B-Cat since day one, dude. We're stoked. No, man, we've wanted you on for a long time, Bobby. You're just so elusive out there. It's great to finally get you on board. You've been a huge influence in my career. Somebody that I looked up to from a young age, took me under your wing. I'm sure we'll get into stories of, driving out to Vegas, playing one-on-ones, all those good times. But
definitely,
man, it's an absolute pleasure and honor to have you on PTG. Finally, I know all the listeners are excited to hear your story and just kind of have you on here to hang out with us.
Right on, man. And it's, likewise, I'm very happy to be here and happy for the questions you guys are going to fire off, dude. Let's get at it.
Oh, we got questions. Don't you worry about that. The PTG fam definitely has some questions for you. But before we get into all that, how are you doing? Where are you at? What's going on in Bobby's world?
Yeah, Bobby's world. We start 5 a.m., baby. 5 a.m. early mornings.
There we go.
And, do my thing in the morning, spend some time with the family, and get into work. I work with DeFi Sports, paint company based out of Southern California, and I'm very lucky to be here. This is where I'm from. Have all my friends, my family here locally, so it's a great position that they've basically placed me in a very managerial role as far as how our sales go, and our sales have been boosting this year. So I'm happy, they're happy, and just keep going forward.
Love that. DeFi, is that like the crypto of paintballs? What is DeFi specifically?
It's not exactly the crypto of paintball. We are another paint manufacturer, and
on the blockchain.
Yeah, no,
it's
not
on
exactly.
The blockchain.
Not off the blockchain. Oh. We're doing our thing. We're making pushes into several different markets throughout the world. Proud to say we have a customer base in Asia, Europe, obviously here in North America, and we're only going to keep pushing.
Nice.
There we go. And where did DeFi start out of?
DeFi has been out of Southern California since 2001.
Wow.
I have just probably, I want to say 2 weeks ago has been my 1 year anniversary at the company.
Nice.
So, yeah, we've been growing rapidly within this past year. Obviously, I've had a lot of experience in the industry working with some of the biggest entities to supply paint and paintball products. Huge shout out to everyone that's helped me, especially Billy Saransky, John Rathbun, Josh Myers, Brandon Fort. A lot of the guys in the industry have helped me along the way, and this opportunity arose, and I decided to take it, and ever since then it's been nonstop, man, nonstop. It's growing and growing every day, so couldn't be thankful. And again, huge shout out and thanks to the guys that helped me along the way.
Absolutely, man. It was good to see you at the WCPPL.
Yes.
You were coaching LA Tribe, is that right?
LA Tribe, I was coaching last year, and huge shout out to my boys. Love those kids. They did well this event, got knocked out in the quarters, I believe, by a point. So real dog game, I guess you could say. But my team was Wolverine Paintball Factory. It's actually one of my really good friends that owns a field up in Bakersfield, which is Southern California, almost Central California, the border there. And one of my customers, he asked me to help with the program this year. And, his name is Matt Estrada out of Wolverine. Great guy. His wife actually came along for the event and was this essentially like the co-manager. So she got to see exactly how tournament paintball was played. And I think this is going to be a fun, exciting year as far as WC goes. Huge shout out to Mike Hinman. That event keeps getting bigger and bigger. I think eventually the pro teams will be playing there. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, let's go Wolverines. Big ups to them. Hopefully they do well out there.
Yeah, that's funny, Bobby. When I saw you out there, I thought you were coaching the Tribe guys, and we were potentially going to play Tribe. I'm coaching the Las Vegas Golden Misfits. Shout out to the old LTZ dudes. Definitely. And I thought you were still coaching the Tribe squad, but you got a new crew.
Yeah, so basically it was just a matter of my customer needing help. He was kind of lost as far as what he wanted to do in the direction of the paintball team, what tournaments they were going to play, etc. And me being very good friends with Mike Hinman, Marcelo, Tyler, we played on the team together. I pushed him into the league. I know it's super competitive. And if you even look at just the sheer numbers of what that event brings in, it's very comparable to NXL's numbers. So if you're looking for the best possible game you can get on the West Coast, WCPPL is the place to be. And, them being extremely new to the upper echelon of tournament paintball, they asked for my help. And, it was kind of hard parting ways with the Tribe guys, but they're in good hands. One of the guys from the team stepped down just to step up afterwards as a coach, my boy Paul. So, excuse me, they had a great showing there at the first event, and I think they're only going to keep going forward. So, yeah, that's what happened there. And, I'm looking forward to both teams doing extremely well all season.
Yeah, Bobby, you've definitely integrated yourself into the divisional scene quite a bit. I've seen you working with multiple teams out at the local fields and at these local events. And again, like you said, huge shout out to Mike Hinman and everything he does with the WCPPL. The competition out there is excellent. Like if you want high competition, that's definitely the divisional spot to go to on the West Coast. What do you see as like a common theme for teams in divisional paintball to have success?
To be honest, and I think you're a testament of the thing I'm about to say as well, is they really need guidance. They need guidance. They need somebody that's been there, done that type of a situation, which obviously you, Tyler, you, Marcelo, have been there, done that. And it becomes a situation where it's not only pure talent that wins a tournament, and it's not cliche, yada, yada, but it really does take a certain amount of preparation, but just quality preparation. I'm not the biggest fan of just going out to practice and playing as many points as you can. I like to be very analytic. I like to break a layout down. I like to, even if it's a blind layout, break out different situational stuff and building real cohesion in between the players as opposed to, yeah, you could have two really, really good players, but if they're never really connecting with the guys behind them and winning games together, as opposed to just hoping one guy goes and does all the damage, that's the best way to build up a team. And I think that's where a lot of these guys have seen value in what I do, what Kyle does, what Marcelo does, what Tyler does. You bring on that extra, I guess, experience, but you're not only just telling them, you're really slowing it down and implementing it into the days we spend with the players. And that's what I've seen has been most beneficial. And I've had quite a bit of success as far as coaching divisional paintball. So I feel that's the right formula, because that's the way we were brought up, right? To play at that top level, it's not always just about having the best players. You also have to have the cohesion and, sometimes the tandem down the Dorito, the tandem down the snake, and then the connector in the middle. All of that is the recipe to make a winning team.
Yeah, totally. I mean, a team that works together is going to outperform a team of individual superstars. I think almost any day. Paintball is such a team sport. It really requires everybody being on the same page and understanding the intention of a game plan, understanding the intention of the situation and what the organization wants to do. And this starts in practice. It starts in, long before you get to the event, this type of cohesion. And so I think what you're referring to, Bobby, correct me if I'm wrong, but something that I always attribute divisional success to, and really professional success as well, is the culture of a team. And that's what it all comes back to, is the culture of an organization. How do these players move together? What is the interaction on and off the field? What's the system that everyone's buying into? And you mentioned a big thing about guidance. Divisional teams often don't have that guidance of how to build the appropriate culture, and how to build the appropriate setting for their players to succeed,
Yeah, I fully agree with that. And I'm glad you used that term culture, right? Because we all know about winning cultures, about losing cultures, and all of those attributes go into a winning culture in talking about what you had just mentioned. And all of the negative things work into a losing culture. It's people that aren't receptive, people that want to argue, one person's, putting themselves on a pedestal above another player on the team. All of that stuff is toxic. And, that will build a culture. Well, you could have a mediocre culture, you can have a winning culture, and you can also have a losing culture. It just really depends on how you are guided into becoming a cultural situation. Everybody has to buy in. And unfortunately, when everybody buys into being the team out there that's mother effing the other team and really not focusing on getting better themselves, but winning a practice point, you get into a lot of toxic situations, and that will build up a negative culture. That's 100% valid. But again, just reiterating what you said, building good tendencies, basically educating these players on the different scenarios that they can encounter throughout a tournament, positive, negative, mediocre. How are you going to really digest that, and how can you better your situation, right? And I think that's the most important thing when it comes to building a very successful and winning culture. So yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, and yeah, I'm in full agreement of that.
Yeah, it's so important what you're talking about there, Bob. And like you said, every single participant has to buy in. We all have to be really wholeheartedly attacking the goal at hand and trying to become the best that we can as a team and as obviously players, but creating that culture, like you said, about just, unifying and having that common goal so that we can, at the end of the event, stand up there with a trophy from divisional all the way to pro. That's what it takes.
Yes, 100%. And, it's obviously been a while since I won a tournament in the professional division, but both of you have done it in the last 2 years. So it's definitely something that people could see visually, when you're inside of a pit and everybody's pumping up Tyler, or Tyler's pumping everybody up, and Marcelo is the same, right? You guys are, you're the energy of the teams that you play on, right? And you could see it in your teammates' eyes that they've already bought in months ago, years ago, depending on what your situation has been with Dynasty or Heat. And when everybody's on that same page, I guess both of your teams can be unstoppable on any day. And I want the players to actually study the film that we're fortunate enough to have of you guys
This
in
is
the pit,
huge.
whether it's not as
Yeah.
extensive as we would like for it to be, but even those small snippets of what we can see and how you guys interact in there is a testament to what we're talking about. Because all those guys put 130% trust. They confide in you to, take your grandma to the grocery store if that's what's needed. Everybody's on board with you, and that's a very interesting and cool thing to see. Shout out to Go Sports for letting us see that, really.
Yeah.
And I would love to see more of that, to be honest. More of the in the pit stuff. Like, my favorite thing to watch and listen to is, like, for instance, NFL when the guys are mic'd up.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You can tell who the big dogs on the team are. And then you could tell who the guys that are just, full talent guys. But you need those influential people there to reiterate what your culture is, right? And I would love to see more of that in paintball. I just think, we're still growing, especially as a sport that's being broadcasted. It's in pretty infantile years, I guess you could say, in comparison to everything else. But I think that's going to be a huge learning tool for a lot of these players that, are Go Sports subscribers, or if there's another facet or platform to do it on, that stuff's hugely important. And that's really entertaining, especially even for somebody like me who's been in the pits at those moments. But I love, like, if I could choose whether watching the match or watching how you guys interact in the pit, I would 100% go the other way. But if we had both, it would be even better.
Dude, Bob, so I got to give a major shout out to Go Sports, because Tyler and I have been talking about this on the show for 2 years. We're coming up on our 2-year anniversary, everybody. So huge shout out to the Play the Game listeners for rocking with us this long. Pretty damn dope. I don't know how it happened so fast. That's insane. But we've been talking about Go Sports doing away, the NXL doing away with split decks so that Go Sports can provide a better show. Like, it's so tough to have that, the 2 minutes in between is so crucial for telling a story, going into the pit, seeing the interaction amongst the players, the coaches, the team, and building that story. This event was the first event that all Sunday matches, besides the wild card, so quarterfinals and beyond, was all single deck. And I thought it was amazing. Such a cool thing for the viewers to be able to just focus in on one match. And it's going to open up the doors for Go Sports to just do tremendous things. And we've been talking about it and complaining about it on the show for 2 years. And it's, it finally, I think enough noise was made from a lot of people. I mean, so many people in the industry understand the importance of single deck, giving the commentators time to break stuff down. But you're right. Part of that, Bobby, is going into the pits in those 2 minutes, seeing like what's going on in there, what the leaders of the teams are saying to their teammates, what the coaches are relaying to the rest of the team, how the pit is working, how the pit's being operated. Everything that goes into winning happens in those pits. It happens in those pits, and then it gets brought out to the field. And if you don't have the cohesion and the right culture and the right situation in the pit, you're going to struggle out on the field. It's all part of building the story. And Go Sports definitely took a big step in the right direction there this last event. So I'm excited to see what they do with it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, personally, like, obviously I'm an outside perspective now. I would love to see more of that. I think they made a very good decision, and in doing non-split deck, you have the full break time in between. But it's a time restraint, right? Like, at the end of the day, you only have Sunday afternoon to finish everything. So at times it's just not permittable. Like, you just can't do it. There's not enough sunlight in the day, and that's understandable. But maybe even if they could do something, after Dynasty's match, you can go and talk to some of the players and get a breakdown of how it was. Just anything extra, I suppose, outside of just the actual points and outside of the pit. Like, me personally, as a fan of paintball, even after all these years, I'm still a fan of watching Tyler Harmon. I'm still a fan of watching Marcelo. I'm still a fan of watching Ryan. Like, have another camera, go follow these guys around the venue for a little bit. Like, how in love these players are with just getting as intimate as they possibly can, excuse me, as they possibly can with the pro players. It's something that makes it really personable, right? It makes it accessible and personable, and it makes it seem like you guys aren't superhuman, which obviously in a way, in the way of paintball, you guys are. But any added value, any added marketing, any added interaction that you could do, and I think Go Sports has the means to do it. It just takes podcasts like this with your guys' innovative ideas to kind of get it done. But I definitely agree with you guys, and it's all about the people that are watching, right? Because without Go Sports, no one's really seeing what's going on out there. So huge shout out to them. But yeah, I mean, everybody could always do better, right? That's just the bottom line. So
we're just super grateful, dude. Honestly, me and Marsh talk about it all the time, just to be able to play this game. Like, this game has done so much for all of our lives, and to be able to play it at the highest level still is a lot of fun, and travel and see our friends and, make amazing memories and win tournaments. That's what it's all about, connecting with the community and being there as community members for this amazing society of like paintball players from around the world. It's a spectacular thing that we're a part of. And I'm really I gotta give a major shout out to Go Sports and everything that they do. Cause like, even, the past few days, I've just been watching Sunday on repeat. I'll just watch all the teams, typically after an event, just watching paintball. And, when we were kids, you had to go to the field, sit out there for hours with a jug of water and sweating everything, and just to have the luxury of being able to watch it on the phone is truly amazing in this current day.
Yeah, it really is, man. That's a very good point. I think I was I don't even know where I was. I was probably at the mall with like my mom and my dad, and like they were doing something in a store, and I'm like, oh, let me check on Go Sports, and it was like Latin Saints versus Dynasty. I'm like, oh shit. And then next thing I know, I look up and like my parents are lost in the mall. So I had to go and find them. But like, that is so cool, right? You could just, anywhere you are, you could log in and watch a live paintball match, and a lot of these kids that are watching it, they aspire to one day not even compete at that level, but just be there. Like, I can't count how many times I've heard like, man, I want to go to World Cup so bad.
Yeah.
And it's not to play, it's to go watch, Dynasty, Heat, Russian Legion. So watch these teams compete. And for Go Sports to make that accessible, big ups, definitely.
Absolutely. I know, man.
We're on the brink. I'm telling you guys, I've said it louder than ever, especially more recently. I really believe we're finally on the brink, and all three of us have been around for a long time, and we've heard, the big TV deal and this and that and all the hocus pocus, and all the flashy stuff. We've seen it. We've maybe even been tricked by it. I honestly don't think I've ever been as excited as now, though, for paintball. It just seems like there are more eyes on our sport than ever before. It seems like it's like the perfect storm of boutique things becoming popular in general. So paintball being a niche sport is in itself very cool. It's an extreme sport. It's very different. You see video games blowing up with first-person shooter games. Paintball is like real life Call of Duty meets, sports. I mean, it's just such a interesting thing during a time where things are going viral on YouTube and social media is blowing up, and we have all this media around paintball. I just really believe that we're not too far off from just really getting
dude, what do you know?
Recognition.
You know something. Tell us.
I feel something. I don't know anything.
I'm actually really glad you brought that up. Just because the depiction is proper, I think. In the past, I guess I'll start from ground zero, right? So the perception people have when you talk about paintball is that dudes are running around the woods playing army against each other, which couldn't be further from the truth. I'm not an advocate of, any type of violence in general, right? Like, that's just not necessary. Me personally, I'm not a gun person, and, it is what it is. Everybody's own opinion and how they want to deal with that whole situation and that whole discussion. But that's not what paintball is about. It should have no relation to real guns, realistically, as far as tournament paintball goes, right? I can recall I was a part of a league that was on ESPN. It was a 3-man league, and it was called Rage in the Cage. And I played with Brandon Short, Paul Caddick, 2 Ironman members. Myself, I was on Ironman at the time, and Frank Connell, who worked for Smart Parts, which is now
Dilly Donuts,
DLX.
baby.
Yeah, now Dilly Donuts, doing his thing.
Frank, let's go, Frank.
And the way they depicted it, it was like WWF, and they called it Rage in the Cage. It was in Vegas. It was a 3-on-3 tournament.
I was there. I remember.
Who'd you play with, Tyler?
I was with Bobby.
Oh, that's right. Okay. Yeah, it was kind of cool, like how they did it, different conferences, but like to me, to this day, I was like, this isn't marketable. This is like a knockoff wrestling thing, and people don't really know what's going on inside of the field. There wasn't good commentary, or great commentary, I should say. It was decent, but I think with the way, and that's just one example. I know that there was the Mohegan Sun event, which was also on ESPN, and that was also just the top teams in the world, All-Americans, excessive at the time. Doc's Raiders, another name from the past. I just don't think that they actually had the proper filming, the proper commentary. But this day and age, you have Maddie, who's like a wizard of knowledge, not only in paintball, but in life, and he knows when to kind of reel it in and pull it back a little bit and simplify it for, some of the newer people. But the way he breaks things down and the way you could follow a point from start to finish is simplified to the point where anybody could understand, but also advanced to the point where I'm like, okay, well, this guy knows exactly what he's talking about. The way the angles are shot, the way that, they're starting to do a little more proactive stuff in the pit. I do believe what Marcelo's saying, and I do agree with him that, things are definitely on the up and up. It's hopefully just a matter of time, because a lot of these pro players put everything that they have into this sport, and it's unfortunate that they're not making half as much money as a professional basketball player, a quarter of that, or even an eighth of that. Like, it's something that I hope we keep building on, and we'll see where it goes.
Yeah, man, I really enjoyed watching the no split deck on Sunday and obviously playing in it. It was amazing to see, the different cadence in the game off of no split deck. It completely changes the cadence. You can tell the players who are hustling on and off and, kind of more ready at like 20 seconds. And it adds another layer to the game, which is really cool to see. Yeah,
definitely. And what's weird is that, we started with that, right? And then we evolved into the split deck situation. And honestly, I think it was nothing more than time restraint. Like that's right. That's honestly just what it is. But big ups on the league for realizing that. And like you said, that plays a huge part in how, the match is dictated, right? Like, I think that's more of a true format to play. Like you said, there's guys hustling on and off. It as much as paintball is like a physically and mentally attributed game to what's going on, like, it also takes just a lot of the preparation. And, when you're going off, getting information, hustling back on, like, the optimal guys will be the ones that are successful. And, through the split deck, you see them, like you said, like, they're on the box, they're ready to go. They know exactly what they're going to do. It's just really interesting, honestly. It's just definitely different. And you see that, certain teams, I think it's a real tell show of the guys that have lived through that, say, 10 years ago, right? And then opposed to some of the newer guys that are like hustling off, coming back on, and like still scrambling, I think. And it's interesting to see. Definitely. They completely changed the tempo up.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that tempo is again, to me, the biggest thing is that it lends itself to storytelling, to building the drama throughout a match and giving the commentators a chance to explain what's happening within these points. These points are So, whoa, you guys, sorry about that. I was getting a weird sound in my headphones. I thought my front door was opening. That was a trip. But it lends itself. Yeah, that was really strange. It lends itself to being able to build these stories and explain what's going on. We have such high level things happening on the paintball field that without time to be able to explain it, how do the viewers that don't understand paintball really understand how big that is?
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it would only be through post-event breakdowns. Honestly, that would be the only
Right.
way. But yeah, now that they've done the real match, no split deck, it does give that extra amount of time to build up the story, right? Because every match is a story, like how it's going to go.
Mhm.
There's always a pivotal point, sometimes 2 or 3 pivotal points. So now that you have more time to show, it's a lot easier for people to, I guess, analyze what's going on and have an understanding of how momentum swings work,
Mhm.
how penalties can affect a game. The discussion is huge. The discussion that happens outside of the field between coaches and players, from one to the other. That's a huge thing that it dictates how the game's going to go.
Yes, it does. Hey, actually, I have a question from Tyler Johnsky from the PTG chat. He was interested in hearing your thoughts on what are the best teams and players doing to counteract the scouting through live stream and kind of, you know, dancing with that as well, because that's a reality too. Everybody can watch the film. How do you think that teams and players are best counteracting that?
Does he mean as far as just their competition, like how they're
Yeah.
analyzing a certain match to? I think it's a pretty accurate gauge. Obviously, the win loss that's what you'll go off of. How many points are super convincing? How many aren't? But that's a really good question. I think it is definitely a tool for teams to use for scouting, going into their next match against their opposition. I think that it's huge. Some might say it's kind of. I think some of the lower echelon teams be like, it's only working against us. But at the end of the day, not every single pro team watches every single match at the end of their day. I know you guys are exhausted by the end of the day, team meetings, and a lot of that work is laid upon the coaches. But I definitely think it's a tool that every team that's in the league can use. I don't think it's utilized as much as it should be.
I agree with you, dude. And I think that the best players in the world do watch the film at the end of the night, even if it costs them 30 minutes, after a team meeting or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
you pay that tax and it's going to get dividends for you on that out there on the paintball field. And I couldn't agree more. I think that it's completely underutilized that if the pro players out there, every single one aren't watching film, I think that you're at a disadvantage to the ones that are because they're studying that and learning tendencies.
I agree. I think as far as my experience playing professional paintball while Go Sports has been in existence, my roommate has always been somebody about watching film, and that's
Yeah.
always what we've done. So, yeah, I mean, I've always used it to my advantage, and I think every pro
Mhm.
player should definitely.
What kind of stuff do you look for when you're watching film? When you're watching other teams, do you watch your own team? Do you watch your own matches? What kind of things are beneficial to you?
For me personally, I would always look at my 1, 2, 3 is what I would always say, right? Who's the first guy I'm going to be shooting at? If that guy's dead, who's the next guy that'll be my opposition directly? Who will be the third or potentially the third, right?
Mhm.
Which is kind of nearsighted, I guess, in the way that, paintball is a game of variables. Things could change on a whim. And I think that was the way that I could simplify it in order to be more effective about doing it for every team that I watched. But yeah, say I'm the snake attacker, right? Who's the guy in front of me? What are his tendencies? Is
Mhm.
he going to come and battle me right away, or is he trying to just get as far up as he can if I'm not in the snake and shoot cross field the whole time? Is he somebody that's gunfighter happy, or is he somebody that's a little bit more methodical and calculated? Like, all these tendencies are things that you need to pay attention to, especially if it's somebody that's going to be on your side that you're pretty much 100% guaranteed to eventually encounter if everything goes well for your team.
Yeah.
But yeah, again, it's like, you have a full day of paintball. You have a meeting at the end of the day, which I'm not a huge fan of. If it were my way, our team meetings would happen directly after my last match of that day, when everything's fresh, when I don't have to deal with all the outside distractions, whether it's, you guys signing autographs, right? Or you're going to talk to one of your sponsors, whatever it may be. All that stuff is mentally draining. It's a long day. It's a long 4 days, right? It's a long day when you start to fly in. Long 5 days, I guess, essentially. It's a long day when you fly in. You're tired at the end of the night, finally get into bed. Sometimes you don't check in your hotel room on time. Sometimes there's people checking in ahead of you. The next day, you're out there going to practice, get your guns dialed in, whatever it may be. Then the next day, you have your 2 matches. Now your coach wants to wait until 7 p.m. to have a meeting. Like, it's just mentally and physically tolling. That's why I'm an advocate about, once our stuff's done, let's have our meeting right here. And if we want to have like a small, quick 5-10 minute meeting at the end of the night after dinner, I'm all for it. But I have enough experience with people being completely mentally checked out when we're having our meetings. I've even had experience with some dudes sleeping. Like, it's not super practical, but I do understand from the coach's perspective. They do want to watch all the games throughout the day. They want to come with the best game plan, the best information, and put you guys in the best position to go out and win. But yeah, you have to consider, the human body, the human mind can only be positively and you can only be, I guess, receiving and analyzing information at an optimal level for a certain amount of time. Once your body starts getting tired, once your mind starts getting tired, that optimization drops a significant amount, a significant percentage, and I don't think you're as receptive as you would be.
Yeah, that's interesting, Bobby, because since Skinny Kevin has taken over as our coach, I think anybody who's ever watched any documentaries on Dynasty is aware of how long and drawn out the Dynasty team meetings are. Sometimes 2 to 3 hours. That's no joke, of just, back and forth, just arguments about how to play a certain position and what's right and what's wrong. And honestly, both are probably right. We're just, not on the same page. And Skinny Kevin has come in and he's like, we're not even meeting tonight. We'll meet tomorrow before our match against that team. Everybody get a good night's sleep, watch film, do your own homework, do your own research, and we'll come fresh tomorrow morning before the game and have a discussion about how we want to approach that match. Sometimes we'll have a short 30-minute meeting, at night. And I think it kind of is, speaking to what you're referring to, Bobby, of the players. It's been a long day. Everyone's out there all day long, watching, learning. I do think it's important to note, though, that I personally don't believe that formula would work with a less experienced team.
I was about to touch on that after you started talking about. I was going to say, what, Kevin knows that he has a group of seasoned veterans that have been there and won. So yeah, I can definitely agree with that. But it's just a matter of, sometimes you're just kind of beating it to the point where it's dead, right? And
I've been time to go back to dog one, man. We want our snacks, Twizzlers, some Smarties.
But no, that's a good point. And maybe that wouldn't be the way I would do it, but I also haven't played against I haven't coached or been a part of super green players at that highest level. So I can't speak in that aspect as if I put myself in a coach's shoes where I have a pro team of dudes that this is their first or second event, because I haven't lived that situation. But going back to kind of what the Dynasty way of doing things is, I've been at several practices playing against Dynasty where one of the best players to ever pick up a paintball gun, Alex Frage, is like, hey man, we're just literally like we're beating ourselves into the ground for nothing. Like it's quality over quantity, I think, at points throughout practice. And you also run into the injury factor. Maybe it doesn't happen that day, but when you go into Sunday practice after you've played Friday, Saturday, your body is beat up, and you're weaker in certain spots of your body, and you're susceptible to injuries, and that's just the reality of the human body.
Yeah, for sure, man. It definitely, with a group of guys, you got to read the room. You got to see how everybody's doing. It's a balance. And the most important thing is that we understand the intention of how we're going to all play together. As long as, and we can knock that out in 5 minutes with some good discussion, as long as everybody understands the intention, we understand, like you said, Bobby, which I absolutely love, your 1, 2, 3. I think that is so crucial to really understand that as well. Visualizing your shots, knowing who your first opponents are going to be, who you're going to wrap and shoot at, who you're going to go heads up at, all those little details. As long as you're doing that work, the meeting is just to solidify and make sure that we're all on the same page. And like I said, you can knock that out pretty quickly and know where we're headed. The real work comes on each individual doing their own mental space work and really dialing in for the battle that is going to ensue. They got to take that on their own shoulders.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think to a T, that's kind of how my boy Todd can do it. I'm glad you said read the room, right? Because that's the biggest factor in the situation. Like if you have two guys that are kind of just like, it sucks because now everybody has to wait. But at this level, if you have everybody on the same page and everybody gets the point and the gist of what you're trying to get across, you're able to make it quick and effective. But it is about reading the room, and that's why some of the best coaches are in the position that they're in.
Yeah, dude. Major love to Cash Money. Come on, are you kidding me? This guy, legend of legends, dude. Can you believe T Money? Are we talking about the same guy? This guy is the one, bro. He's so sick.
Yeah, I mean he gave me my first pro win. I think that was Marcelo. Marcelo had already won a couple with Ironman, but 2000, what was that? 2010
Chicago.
That was my first pro NXL win. My first pro NXL win. Yeah.
I didn't know that, Bob.
Yeah,
because it was the first one.
Yeah, it was my first one because on Aftermath we had a couple seconds, but we never got to that first in X Ball. It was first and 7-man, but that was it, and it was weird because like I felt that was one of the easiest wins I ever had, and maybe that's just attributed to the talent that we had. Maybe it was a coaching, but probably was everything, right?
Yeah.
It takes a very not modest. It takes a very even amount of proper coaching, top echelon players, good pit crews, good rest. Everything plays a factor into winning one of these tournaments. There's so many good teams.
All the ingredients have to be high quality.
Yeah, definitely. Everything needs to be working properly, and as dumb as it sounds and cliche, like you have to have a certain amount of luck. I think when we were younger on Aftermath, we had a certain amount of bad luck, and that's what hindered us from winning a few of the events that we should have won. But hey, it's a learning experience, and that's just how it was. That's how life is at times, right? Like you have to take the best of the situation that you have and really try everything you have tooth and nail to accomplish. And then even then, sometimes that's not enough. So it takes a lot of different components, and it takes a little bit of luck to win one of these things. So, anybody down there that's still fighting for that first place, don't give up, man. It's coming. When it's not going to come is when you quit.
That's right. Absolutely.
Dude, that team we had 2009 Aftermath.
Yeah.
Yeah. Woo. Crazy, right? Worst player on the team was Alex Goldman. Crazy. Now he's the best in the league. No, I'm
Dude,
just kidding. Mouse was a stud. Honestly, that team. It's beyond me that we didn't win every single event, but
we were just young, man. We were just young.
Yeah.
young, so like the poise
Pups.
of some of the, late Sunday things, and that Chicago event. I mean, we left it all out there in that Philly match. We beat Philly in I think it was like an overtime point, or it came down to the wire in the semifinals, and we went into that Russian match, and we just were completely outclassed from a tactical perspective. They
definitely.
shot us. Yeah, they shot us on the break. They did everything to us where we just were too young to adjust and really understand what we're getting ourselves into. But that team, if it could have stayed together, was incredibly nasty.
Yeah, absolutely. And credit where credit's due. Huge shout out to Mike Hinman. He made all that possible.
Oh my gosh. Yep.
And I see it every day. It's people commented on his current team, right? Every single team he's had has some championship caliber players on it. Because that's Mike's culture. That's what Mike's about. And if he doesn't see that you're able to get there, not to say that every player that he has on his teams will get there or has gotten there, but he sees you have the potential to do it. That's what makes his team so dangerous.
Yep. And then, like we said, it's on you to put that on your shoulders, do the work, and go, make Hinge Master proud. Go out there and do what you got to do. And man, that guy, along him and Todd, both couple of the most influential paintball players, I mean, in the history of the game, stylistically and tactically, the way that they've influenced the game, just on a whole nother level. So the game is definitely honored to have them, and major ups to Hinge Master and everything that he does.
Yeah, definitely. A huge shout out to what he does for paintball outside of his team, right? And it's awesome. It's hilarious watching all the pro players reffing a divisional tournament. I probably would go to WC just to watch that. But yeah, he's doing all the right things, and all the right things to keep growing and sprouting some of the top players paintball will ever see out of not only Southern California now, but out of surrounding areas like Arizona, Utah, Washington. There's a team from the Midwest out at the last event. That's something that people don't really appreciate, and I don't think they would unless they understood how Mike functions. The stuff that he does for this sport is astronomical. I was like I was so surprised to show up to the WC event the other week and see literally a sea of cars to the point where like they were at capacity. I had to park over on the walk-on side next to an airsoft guy, and he was like, "What's going on over there, man? Is there like a carnival? Is this some press thing? Like, what's going on?" And like hundreds and hundreds of cars. I'm like, "No, it's a paintball tournament." And then he told me paintball sucks. And I was like, oh.
Come on.
No, but huge shout out to him for sure. Hinman's the man.
Yes, he is. All right, B, I want to know, I'm sure the listeners all want to know, how did you get into paintball? What was your entry point into the game? How did it start for you?
Dude, it was pretty, I guess, typical. Middle school, two of my best friends, Vinny Palmieri, Josh Myers, we were in 8th grade. I had never played paintball. I honestly had never even really thought to go play paintball. Those two had already been playing, every other week, every 3 weeks. Randy, Josh's dad, would take us out to go play. And I went, had a real good time, and decided to buy a gun. And after that, it's history. We would go every single weekend. And then my dad was the dude taking us to SC Village, which in its day, I think a lot of the players don't know how big Southern California paintball was. It without a doubt, without using the word, lightly, it was the mecca of paintball. We would go to SC Village. I think sometimes we would go to SC Village just to watch, because there would be major team practices of Avalanche, Ironman, Iron Kids. I guess Dynasty was newly formed, so I guess you could call it Dynasty, Bushwhackers, Hostile Takeover. we would go knowing that we were never going to get to play against them on those days, and maybe play half a day on some side fields, and then just go and watch 10-man. Push was the video to watch, obviously. Like, only paintball video at that point, and we were like, wow, these guys are playing here in Southern California. I'm like, Dad, can you take us? Like, he's like, yeah, man. He was always about it, and that's something I'm very thankful for. For Randy, who's Josh's father as well, they would always get us out there, hang out, deal with us all day, and then do the same thing the next weekend. So that's how I started, and that was probably a good year and a half until we met another group of SoCal kids players, which called themselves the Hostile Kids.
Yeah,
those guys.
Those guys.
And
Dude.
that was Mark Cresson, Scott Cresson, Jay Panetta, Steve Nobby. I'm sure I'm forgetting somebody that was one of the first players on the team.
Was Cassidy on there?
Cassidy came a little bit later when I first met them, but I'm saying a little bit later, maybe like a month or two. But Cassidy was a part of their 5-man team, and then our 5-man team, which we formed after we decided we were going to play paintball. We'll play tournament paintball anyway. Was called Dead On, and that was myself, Josh, another friend of mine, Dominic, and then another friend, Kevin, who neither Dominic or Kevin play paintball anymore, and we would compete against them in kids tournaments, which is another thing that I kind of want to touch on a little bit as well, but we'll do that after this this little piece of HK history. We would compete in kids events against each other. Kids paintball was huge back then, and I'm talking 2000, probably around 2000 was the first year I had Dead On, or we had Dead On rather, and HK was a team. So we battled them in the finals throughout kids tournaments, probably like 5 or 6 different events in that year. And then 2002 came around, and we all decided like, hey, we want to play 10-man. And it was funny because we had like almost a little bit of a rivalry with HK. We were guys from like North LA area, and they were all from Orange County. So it was like the rich kids versus like the blue collar kids. And it was a fun little rivalry. We were, keyboard cowboys back when it was like AOL chat or whatever it was called, which was really funny to think back on, just some of the messages we would send each other. But we decided we were going to form a 10-man team. And, at the time, Hostile Takeover, who had taken the 5-man kids team as Hostile Kids under their wing, said, hey, you guys could play as Hostile Kids, and you could have a 10-man team. So there was a 10-man team here locally, but the first NPPL, like national event we played, was 2002 World Cup. And there was a store called Check It. Check It is now known as Paintball Gateway, which is one of the biggest retail store chains here in Southern California. Josh Myers actually owns a Paintball Gateway in Marietta, California. And we played as Check It Kids. And that was it was my second time traveling for a paintball tournament, but I think for the collective, it was most everybody's first time traveling to a paintball tournament together. And that 2002 World Cup was honestly still to this day one of my favorite tournaments, even though we didn't do well as a team in the event. It was just eye-opening. There was hundreds of teams, literally 10-man teams, 5-man teams. Everybody's driving around on golf carts. I don't even know if Marcelo was born yet, but Tyler, you might have been out there.
I was. That was my first World Cup.
Oh yeah. Was it with Twisted?
That was with Twisted.
Right on. Yeah. And it was just crazy, man. And all of us were away from our parents, big brothers, big sisters. And I think that's truly where everyone figured out, we are Hostile Kids. We're pretty out there group of crazy kids, and had a great time on the field, but had probably an even better time off the field that event. With a lot of debauchery, a lot of good stories. And after that, I was like, this is what I want to do. I want to travel. I want to play paintball, and I want to be competitive.
Talk about influential, man. What they have done with HK Army is spectacular. I mean, to go
Yeah.
from out of the trunk selling headbands to one of the biggest in the world is quite the story there.
Definitely. I think I can touch a little bit deeper on that as well. So Check It Kids, that's 2002. Moving into 2003, there was a local paintball team called Platinum. Platinum was an established team here in Southern California. They had won, I think, 5-man NPPL novice. And to us, that was like the top of the mountain, because at that point, none of us were like, hey, we're all going to play pro paintball. We're just like, damn, novice. Or even placing in an NPPL tournament to us was it, right? That was like you reached the top of the mountain. And these guys had won the Los Angeles event in the novice division. So they decided they also wanted to play not 10-man, but X-Ball. And X-Ball was newly introduced that year. And, we were a local team with talent, and they said, hey, let's join up. So we ended up hopping onto Platinum and playing a NPPL Vegas event. And we did pretty well. I know we made it past the first round. We probably ended up like in the top 8. But that was the event where we all had HK we all had Sandana wear headbands. And since we weren't HK Army anymore, we definitely wanted a little bit of our culture in the whole Platinum situation. So we took Sharpies, and everybody wrote HK Army, HK Platoon, HK Soldier, HK Medic with Sharpies. That's what we wrote. And the HK block letter symbol, that's where, the inception was there. That was where it started. We all drew it onto our headbands, and that evolved into somebody saying, hey, let's get vinyl. We'll cut it out and we'll print it. We knew a guy named James who was doing vinyl printing for a company called Black Star here in Southern California. And we said, hey man, can you start printing headbands for us? And I actually have the very first HK Army headband that was ever printed.
No.
I have it framed. Yeah, I have it framed, and it belonged to Cassidy Sanders, who I'm sure most people in paintball would know. But somebody in HK reached out to James and let him know, like, hey, we have this headband. It was the first one I ever pressed, and they mailed it to me in a frame, and I have it up in my place.
Damn, that's legendary.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Pretty cool to still have it. And considering where, HK Army has gone since then, is it's a crazy story, man. It honestly is. And happy for all the guys doing huge things. They're going to keep doing huge things. So shout out. It's just crazy that, before anything was anything, we were all just a bunch of snot-nosed kids, just a bunch of best friends that were causing havoc wherever we would go.
Yeah. And at the core of it, the friendship is more alive than it's ever been, man. I mean, I know that we're getting older and everything, but it's just amazing to see the HK Army whole crew, is just thriving. And there's so much going on with so many different players from so many different walks of life. And it stemmed from this subculture, this crazy, wild, fun subculture of players that just want to go, obviously win tournaments, but also create memories with their brothers and, make lasting moments that they can carry with them throughout their whole entire life on that paintball field.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
definitely. Man. It's crazy just thinking in retrospect. Yeah. It's a lot of great memories.
Oh yeah. BCat, you've played for some of the top pro paintball teams in the world. You have won at the top. You've played at the top. You're one of the best to do it, man. In my opinion, you have one of the nastiest styles, one of the hungriest, most gritty paintball players to ever step on that field. When you step in there, it's go time. You know what it is. And I want to kind of start from the beginning of, how did it evolve into pro paintball for you from those moments that we talked about?
Yeah, I mean, again, from the first time I played, I had a passion for the sport, and I didn't know that, it could reach a competitive level. It was always just fun to start with. After about a year into playing, there was an indoor that was close by where I lived. I began to work there, and I wasn't even old enough to work. Actually, no, I was old enough to work, but I wasn't even getting paid cash. I was getting paid paintballs. So work one night, play the next night. And that's where I really got like my competitive edge, and more of just that little bit of a dog in me, because the park was so small. The max you could play was 3-on-3. So we would just play one-on-ones. And, it could get super malicious when you're playing one-on-ones, and it's always about you're the top dog, because there's not 4 guys around you or 2 guys around you. It's
Can't
you
hide.
versus him, right? Or her, whatever it may be. It's 1 versus 1. There's nobody to crutch on. There's nobody to blame your mistakes on. And I think that's always been one of the biggest attributes to my game, is that I really put a lot of pressure on just myself individually, whether it is in a team environment or whether it is me personally just playing. I just kind of grew that aggression and how to channel it at certain times. But yeah, that's always been just a very big attribute to just my mental tenacity and how I go about attacking a game. And I think most people that know me, I'm not a very malicious person. I'm very friendly. I have, some of the greatest relationships and friendships I have are within paintball. And you could go and ask a lot of the other people that I consider friends, and they'll be like, "Hey man, Bobby's one of the nicest dudes. He's always that guy to call if something, is going wrong in my life. Wish me a happy birthday, say Merry Christmas, or see that I post something about my mom or my grandma, whatever it may be." Like, at the end of the day, yeah, I'm human, but when it comes to that arena of paintball and that whole just competitive aspect of it, it's like a flip switches, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
A switch flips.
Dude,
Excuse me.
We know what you meant, Bob. Dude, it's crazy for me to hear your story about one-on-ones, because you did that for me. I've told this story on the show before. I've told it to a lot of people how much I attribute my early success, because a lot of my early success in the professional division came from winning big one-on-ones. 2007 World Cup finals against Russian Legion, me versus Kirill in this long one-on-one. Same year against Zach Yakimak in the finals in overtime to decide who was going to win the tournament. A lot of my early success as a kid that gave me the confidence to kind of believe that I belonged at the age of 16, 17, 18 years old came from winning big one-on-ones. And you are the biggest part of that. And it's because, and I've been meaning to ask, because honestly, Bobby, I don't quite remember, but I was only 16 years old, just turned pro. I was a pup. And for some reason, you took me under your wing, would drive me out to Las Vegas almost every other weekend. We would go out there with the old LTZ boys to practice, because they had a field, they had a big team house out there. A bunch of our friends were on the team. And typically we'd wake up Saturday morning and nobody else wanted to go to the field anymore. And so you and I would hop in the car and we would still go get that work in no matter what. And it was in that little arena, tiny in your face kind of field. And we would just hammer out one-on-ones. And I just remember, you would just put it on me over and over. And at the time, you were truly one of the best players in the game at the time. I believe you're on Excessive back then. This was when it was like Bobby Aviles was like, Tyler's talking about your style on the field. You were that was BCAT, it was your era there. And I was just so fortunate to have you so close in my camp, and like for you to take me under your wing and train with me like that, because those one-on-ones did something for me mentally for sure. Because then, it started, I would win a few against you, and then all of a sudden we're having days where we're going back and forth and it's a dogfight, and we're just, we're now both helping each other. And that had done so much for me. Like, it's such a tremendous value that you brought to my whole career. And that, I don't know if I've ever like personally really thanked you for it, but truly, man, I can't thank you enough, because I think
it's about time.
Yeah, it's about time, Don. There we go. It's about time. But
no, what I saw in you from a very young age was just the want to get better. And exactly like you said, it takes a different type of person to wake up at, whatever maybe we weren't waking up at 6 a.m., but, we're waking up at 7, 8, whatever it may be after, just hanging out until 3 or 4 in the morning. It takes a different type of person to want to go out there and just grind. And that's just always been the way I am, whether it's in paintball, whether it's, in work, whatever it may be. Like I want to get after it. I want to get the most out of my day. And I saw that in you. And that's why it was, pretty regularly just you and I. And if somebody else decided to tag along, the day probably didn't go very well for them because they hadn't put the work in, right? It's just pretty common, it's a pretty common way to look at it. It's pretty logical, like if the guys aren't going to go out there and do what we're doing, they're not going to be able to compete with us, and I think that what you're saying is accurate, that it gives you that extra level of just confidence, whether you're not only playing one-on-ones when you're going out Saturday to practice with the team, but like, hey man, if it comes down to me and this guy, like I'm prepared. I've done the reps. I put in the work, and I've been in situations where it's been, like literally it's a one-on-one, like to go on to a next round, how you have experienced, right? I think the first time where I was like, thank God I put in all this work doing one-on-ones was in Jacksonville. It was Aftermath's first year playing pro. We were in the top 4 and we won the first game, lost the second game against Billy Bernacci's New England Hurricane team. We stalemated the third game. So therefore,
I like that you call it Billy Bernacci's Hurricanes.
Well, I'm not going to call it Jeff Stein's Hurricanes. That's for sure.
Shout out to Jeff.
Yeah, shout out to Jeff.
Yeah.
Dude, Jeff would always be puffing on the big cigars.
Yeah.
He's still doing it. He's still doing it. We get to work with him a little bit in BK. I got to give a lot of love to Jeff.
Yeah,
I never knew him before. I never knew him before, back in the day. I was like, what's this guy?
But I use Billy's name because, he's a big reason that team had as much success as they have had. Same with Doc's Raiders, same with X Factor, right? X Factor is definitely surrounded by more talent than he was, but they had Thomas Mantoni, who's another guy that I had a lot of respect for at the time and still do actually now that he's playing again. But anyway, yeah, so the way the format worked, if you go into that third game and you stalemate, you instantly go to one-on-ones. It's best 2 out of 3. And, in our Aftermath camp, like it was kind of the culture to play one-on-ones. It was kind of what we did. It was like, all right, well, who's going to be the best one-on-one player at the end of practice, or maybe it was before practice, whatever it was. And like my track record was just solid at that time. And I think it's been solid throughout my paintball career because that was one of the things I constantly practice on. And it honestly gives me one of the biggest highs I can get in paintball because I know it's like me personally against one other dude, which is selfish and it's not, a team paintball thing. But at this point in time in that event, that's what we needed. So I instantly volunteered to do it. And the team was like, yeah, let Bobby go. And, I was fortunate enough to win that first one. We lost our second, and then Mouse went in and won the third one. And then we went into the final to play against Marcelo and play against the Ironman, who, is a team that we practiced against. It was a team that we had a lot of respect for, and to get our first win against, one of the best paintball teams to ever, exist was huge for us. And I think it was a big boost in our culture, to be honest. But yeah, again, on the flip side, several years later, we're playing Dynasty and whatever Challengers, whatever. I don't even remember what PSP was calling it at the time. The Challengers division. We were playing in the final.
Infamous.
Yeah, when I was with Infamous.
Yeah.
Same situation happened. We went into overtime and it came down to one-on-ones. I said, hey, I want to go. I'm comfortable. And, Oliver ended up beating me. So it's like you put yourself out there. You definitely can't blame anybody else. You take all of the reward and you take all of the guilt. Luckily, again, my team was able to step up and pick us up and we were able to win that event. But yeah, it's a emotional roller coaster, man. Like definitely, but I wouldn't have it any other way.
Wait, hold on. Didn't Dynasty win that event?
No, we won. We won that event. on one-on-ones.
Shit. Damn.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, I had that off. But all I do
Tyler was
remember.
playing that event. I actually
Yeah.
shot Tyler the last point when he's going to grab the flag. He thought nobody was there, and then he raises up and tries to shoot me. And I don't know. It was madness.
Get him out, Judge. Get him out.
Bobcat was playing possum.
Yeah. But no,
Dude,
man, I think every player should experience, just put yourself out there, man. And like,
Yeah.
and if you're not winning the majority of the points that you're playing, you probably should work on it, because that builds up a lot of character, I feel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's so good for a team to run one-on-ones against each other and, sharpen each other up. That's the great time where you can give each other those little details of how you approach a situation or how you approach a gunfight or a decision that you make in your positioning of where you choose to come out of, or, just like start to hardwire each other so that we're all out there gunfighting with a similar kind of cadence and style, and we can all be really effective as a team.
Yeah, agreed. 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I just it's one thing that I make just about any team that I coach, any players that I work with closely, one-on-ones are a staple. And I think a lot of it really does just go back to being a kid and running one-on-ones relentlessly with you out in the desert. I remember some of those weekends how hot they were too. So it was like a physical thing as well. Just mentally, it sharpens you up. So if you guys are listening out there, and you're wondering how to practice, go play one-on-ones. At the end of the day, one-on-ones are the embodiment of paintball. Shoot your opponent before they shoot you. Survive. Don't get eliminated. Be able to dodge paint and put a good ball on your opponent. Like, that's what the game's about. Then you could add in the other variables. You add in players, you add in situations, you add in the clock, score, all that stuff, and it does get more high level. But at the root of it all, it is shoot them before they shoot you.
Don't get eliminated.
Eliminated.
Yeah, I think, I guess on the flip side, it took me a lot longer to develop just that cerebral part of play, which I think a lot of the players around me developed a lot quicker. And it's definitely, in hindsight, I wish I would have been a little bit more selective on how I spread my time on those practice days. Maybe it wouldn't have been so one-sided, because it does take time to develop that part, and it's equally as important. I guess it's just situational, right? It's equally important at certain times. There's one time where you're going to have to excel in one. There's other times where you're going to have to excel in the other. That's why I'm a huge fan of what you two do in the way of how extensive in how you touch on all the different aspects in the different training camps you do, even if it's weekend clinics. I talk to a lot of the field owners, and they're like, hey man, these guys are teaching these kids stuff that's so beyond anything that we could even comprehend, that we would have them back 5 days a week if we could, and that's what's really impressive. And it shows, I think, with, how regional events are going, and how you can go to these events and see how advanced these younger players are, because you'll teach one guy, he brings that to his team, and it's just kind of spreads, right? And that's super impressive, right? In my time at that age, or that, I guess, maybe not even just age, but that level of the game, I didn't have that guidance or even have that facet to go and participate in something like this. So huge ups to, I know Ant, you guys have done a lot of stuff with Ant over at Boston Paintball. Big ups to him, dude. Like that stuff is huge. And it makes it a lot more legitimate, right? It just legitimizes the sport of paintball. The way you do it, the level of professionalism you two bring, and not just you two, I'm talking about Kyle, Ryan, a lot of the guys that are very active in what is clinics, in combines, camps, like that stuff is huge,
Yeah, we got to have it. We have to.
That was non-existent. Like back in the day, that stuff didn't exist.
Yeah.
Our clinics were going to watch teams, and that was it. There wasn't a whole lot of player to player as far as somebody that's really green as I was at that time, and being able to, pick somebody's brain and see what type of guidance they can give me. So not only big shout out to you guys, again, big shout out to the organizers of the people that make these things possible, because that stuff is growing our sport immensely, and it's educating a lot of the parents that are, new to this thing, and making them more comfortable, and it's only going to better our sport as a whole.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man, that's what it's all about right there. We got to nurture the game wholeheartedly, and continue. It's a responsibility that we all have as paintball players of this community to make sure that we nurture those experiences and, share that good info. If you learn something, you pick up something, share it with your teammate or your friend, your buddy who you play with. And that is just going to grow the game. More people are going to get involved and have a way better time playing it because they have a better understanding of the cadence and the flow and how to gunfight and all those good things.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pop,
I can't wait to see even more dates announced.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. I think that's a cool thing too, is you definitely do have more pros now than ever before that are interested in doing clinics and traveling to work with fields, work with teams, work with players, which is good for the game because it boosts all sorts of different aspects. When you have players that are excited about becoming like other pro players, then they're going to play more paintball. They're going to enjoy playing more paintball. They feel more confident when they go out to the field. All these things are definitely really good. But Bob, I want to kind of dive into the excessive days, because to me that was an iconic era. It was an iconic era for paintball. Excessive was a huge highlight during that time. You're one of the best players on the team and in the world for sure. You pretty much always were on just about any team you ever played for. But that era to me was just like, maybe it's because I was a kid coming up through the ranks and these were the players and teams that I idolized. Can we kind of talk about that time and how all that, went for you?
Yeah. So when I decided to start Excessive, no, just kidding. So my Excessive story is a little weird. The inception of the team was, I want to say 2005 or 2006. So Scott Kemp, who's one of my best friends till the day I die, he got on Excessive, and I went and played a weekend with them. And at that time, I was entertaining a couple different teams. I decided to go a different route at the beginning. I want to say it was 2005. It was 2005 season. I had an offer to go play with an East Coast team called Arsenal. In hindsight, I definitely should have went the Excessive route, but I was a new established pro, I guess you could say at the time, and I did have a good offer financially. And for a young kid at that time, I was 18 years old, to get a pretty decent payout to play with Arsenal. I went that route. It wasn't what I thought it would be. So halfway through the season, I decided I wanted to try out for Excessive. And at that time, they had already won a couple events in X-Ball and 7-man. So tried out for the team. I was able to make it on. And I played for their second team. They had two teams in the pro division, which was Excessive NRG, along with Scott. And then we both played on the X-Ball team with Dave, all the guys that were there when they won. Yeah. Basically, I think they won 3 events at the beginning of the season. So yeah, I decided to come on board. In our first X-Ball event, I think we placed like 3rd to last after they had just won Chicago. And I'm like, oh my gosh, man. And at that point I had not won a pro tournament still. So I was like, what's going on? Am I the bad luck charm here? Yada, yada. Cause the skill and the level of play was definitely there. At practice, I was playing extremely well. The guys were super happy to have me, but I just wasn't yielding the results that I wanted to in the events. We did semi-decent at our next 7-man event. And then after that was when the implosion happened, going into San Diego, an NPPL 7-man event. When Davey left the team, Rusty left the team. I want to say Glenn left the team, and they brought myself and Scott up from the second team, the excessive NRG team, up to play. And I think we ended up like 5th place in San Diego. So you were still in contention to win the series going into the last event, which was in Orange County. And we were going into World Cup as an X-Ball team as well. We didn't have Davey, didn't have Rusty. They were on, I'm not sure where Rusty was, but Davey went to Dynasty, still had Dave. World Cup was first, and then I think we ended up placing 3rd at World Cup, losing to Russian Legion in the semifinal, and then beating.
That was when Scott got hurt too.
Yeah,
right?
Actually, that's one of my worst memories in paintball, to be honest. Scott was on fire that year. That was the best paintball I ever saw Scott play up to that point. And he was an integral part to all the success that they had winning Chicago that year, and that excessive energy had, placing in the top 4 in the events that they played prior to me getting on. But I remember Scott playing in the snake, and I'm playing in the point. He jumped over the beam and was about to run highway on one of the Russians, and I just heard like the loudest pop. And over all of the crowd, this is a semifinal match, over the crowd, over all the guns shooting, and I was somewhere central in the field, so I'm getting shot at from like both sides. And I still just heard this super loud, super distinct, just pop. I'm like, oh my God. I look over and Scott's just on the ground. They stopped the game. They carried him off, and he had a major injury. He tore something in his I want to say it was ACL.
Yeah, he tore his ACL.
Tore his ACL completely. And we ended up losing that game. And I was honestly, that whole game, it was weird. Like, I didn't really check back in. I was just really concerned about Scott. But, you know, Scott didn't really tell us he was in a whole lot of pain. He just really was more about the team at that point than he was about himself, which I honestly, to this day, like, I commend him for. Like, that's crazy to me. I definitely would have been, you know, crying on the ground and like, get me to the hospital. But yeah, that was a crazy moment. And Scott got to the hospital. We ended up playing Naughty Dogs for 3rd or 4th. We're able to win that game. And then going into San Diego, I'm sorry, the Orange County event. Going into the Orange County event, which was, it was actually before World Cup. I have the two mixed up. So we played Orange County, which was the last event of the season. We're in contention to win the series. Davies playing with Dynasty. Rusty's playing back with Infamous. That's what it was. So I'm sorry, I don't want to jump from World Cup, but I do want to jump back to Orange County. So we're in contention to win the series, and we make it into the top 4. We played Dynasty in the semifinal. Pretty much whoever wins that series, the semifinal, best 2 out of 3, locks the series up. So we lose the first game, we win the second game, and it all comes down to that last 3rd match. And I remember shooting Todd off the break. I shoot LJ like immediately after, like literally back to back within 5 seconds. And Davey had ran on that field. There was like a 50 dollhouse. Davey had ran there on the break. And I'm like, all right, we're good. I can just go clear him out. That's 3 kills. I looked around. I'm like, all right, we still have everybody alive. I go through and I shoot Davey. So it's, I think in the interim of me getting to Davey, we lose a guy. So it's a 6-on-5. I bunker Davey out. So it's a 5-on-4. And back and forth, came down to like a 2-on-2, and they actually ended up beating us. So we actually still had a chance to win the series if Joy Division beat Excessive. And then we had to beat Naughty Dogs. And we ended up beating Naughty Dogs. I'm sorry, Dynasty.
Right.
Joy Division had to beat Dynasty. We did our job. We beat Naughty Dogs in 2 games. And then we all sat down and watched the final. And I don't know if anybody recalls, that was like the craziest final match I've ever seen. It was like everybody bonus balling each other. Could have went either way. But yeah, it ended up that Dynasty won, and they won the series, which for me, it wasn't like the worst thing to happen because I didn't feel like I was an integral part of the team because I spent the first half on LTZ and Arsenal. But for the other guys, I could tell it was like demoralizing because they lost to Davey, who had just left to go play for Dynasty. And we were really close, but yeah, that was unfortunate. And then after that event, and Scott killed at that event. And then after that event is when we played the World Cup, and then Scott had his injury. And then, yeah, we ultimately ended up losing to the Russians, and then we beat the Naughty Dogs for third or fourth for that tournament as well. And that was the end of the season. And then after that season was basically when Hinman kind of came knocking on my door, and I ended up playing with Aftermath after that for 2 seasons.
Dude, that game was so crazy. For all the YouTubers, we got someone crawling the snake in the background.
That's Danny Boy.
We got Danny Boy making an appearance. That game was so crazy, dude, in San Diego. Yeah, I remember being there, watching it live, and I still don't know what happened. You know, like it was so wild.
It was wild. I think the most controversial point of that game was with BC, and I'm not sure who it was in the snake. But apparently, like, BC had gotten shot getting to the guy, and then like went over the dude and like shot him 50 times probably.
It got wild.
It got wild. A lot of overshooting, a lot of questionable calls, but Dynasty ended up winning. They won the series, won that event.
Yeah, that was a crazy one.
Yeah, but yeah, I know. Just getting back to like Marcelo's not question, but yeah, there's just the situation. I wasn't like a very integral part of the excessive success, so to speak. I kind of got there at the tail end. But yeah, I mean, for me, the 2 third place finishes in the pro division were like my first highlight of my career. So I'm very thankful for Rich, who to this day is honestly one of my best friends. I love Rich Telford. Even though at the time he was kind of hard on me being a younger guy, but I can only be thankful for it. He definitely made me into a much better paintball player, and I think a better person all around.
Absolutely, man. Rich is one of the best dudes on the planet. That guy is wild. He's from Modesto, and without Rich Telford, I wouldn't be able to have made my jumps in divisional. Him and like Rob Scott were essentially like my first senseis, you know, like they gamed me up, they beat me up, they taught me the ropes and taught me what to do, not to do out there if you want to be good at this game. And I'll forever be grateful for Rich. And that dude is just off the Richter scale with the jokes and the dry humor, and just, you know, one of the funniest dudes you'll ever meet.
He really is, man. I love Rich. And honestly, one of the players that I really looked up to when, I don't know, Tyler was probably 12. I was probably 12. No, I was probably 13. Tyler was 12. Is how Tyler came up, right? Because Tyler was part of a team called Twisted Factory, who like had a lot of success in the divisional paintball scene. And I think caught Bob Long's eye, and Bob Long was like, hey man, this kid, I want to say, what, you were 13 or 14, Tyler, when you got picked up?
I was 13 when I got on the team.
That's unheard of. I don't think anybody went pro at 13 years old.
Yeah, well, I played my first tournament like right after I turned 14, but I was 13 when I got on the team.
That's so crazy. But I remember watching Tyler and being like, is he just like not developed yet? Because he plays like an adult. His body's just not quite there yet. But yeah, no, man, those were crazy times in paintball, just seeing a lot of young talent being taken seriously, because I don't think that was ever a part of paintball prior to that era, right?
Yeah.
Because when I was watching these 10-man teams compete at SC Village, you know, the youngest guy was like Oliver, and Oliver was like 18, 19, maybe 17 years old. But to do it at 13, that's just crazy.
Dude, it was bonkers. And you're right. I would still have like a big old hands and feet, like a puppy, you know what I mean? Like a puppy dog that hadn't grown into my body yet. But still, thankfully, due to Rich, Bob Long, and like Twisted, Rob Scott, the whole Twisted family, man, major love to Twisted Factory and that whole camp, because I still talk to them every once in a while and have some dudes that still play out there. But it was just a crazy, crazy time. The early 2000s were a wild time in paintball.
Yeah. And definitely watching Marcelo come up was crazy too, because with Marcelo, I feel like you had to fight for it a little bit more. I think at that time, because obviously Marcelo is a few years younger than us. At that time, the culture of teams, they knew that they needed that influx of younger talent.
Mm-hmm.
So teams were almost headhunting players, right? And I think Marcelo was competing at like 13 years old, against like 15-year-old kids. But like to the adult eye, they're like, I don't know. They're just kids, right? Like, which one do we want? So it took a lot of grit, a lot of talent to stick out amongst, players like myself, because Marcelo went pro a year after I did, which, Marcelo's like 4 years or 5 years younger than me. So that speaks a lot about the work that Marcelo did in being in such a competitive, if you want, I guess you shouldn't call it a market, but in such a competitive scene as we were in. Anybody that got picked up at that age from that era, that scene, went on to be successful on numerous different teams from numerous different areas. Like I probably cut my teeth with Aftermath. I'm sorry, with Excessive, truly, like to learn how to be in those top 4 positions. But yeah, I mean, I was already an adult at that point, and Marcelo was already winning tournaments with Ironman when he was 16 years old. So it's crazy.
Yeah, the young crew at that time, still to this day, is a powerhouse. Like if you look at the Aftermath roster, obviously Marsh, myself, even like OGs like Kenny, dude was a monster out there running around. And
a huge shout out to Kenny, man.
Yeah, Kenny. Yeah, man. It's just amazing to see everyone, we're all, like I said earlier, getting a little bit older, but it's just cool to see that everybody's still in the industry, still having fun. Even Kenny, he's with HK now, which is really cool to see. And we're all vibing, everybody.
Definitely. And it's cool. Yeah, absolutely. It's really cool to see Kenny back in the mix. He's kept in touch throughout all these years. He's definitely gone off and made a mark in his field of work. So I think it was a really smart move for HK to bring him back on board, because he's one of the best at what he does. And to be one of the best at what you're going to do and be able to work in an environment with your friends is, not a whole lot of people get that opportunity. So happy for those guys. Happy for Kenny. Hope to see him soon. Definitely.
I know, man. Yeah, and to be as good at what he does in the marketing, the web design, I mean, he's just an absolute beast when it comes to designing websites and just making things pop on that visual. When someone opens up the site, they're going to get hit with that Kenny Rosenberg sauce.
Yeah. That kid's a genius. There's really just no other way to put it. That kid is he's on a different level. I always felt that we were making him dumber when he was hanging out with us. But yeah, mad respect to Kenny. Mad respect.
Yep, Rosenberg, baby. Let's go.
Yeah, I got all the all the HK boys back together too. They're building Megatron over there.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's funny.
What do you guys think of this Latin Saints situation?
It's pretty cool, man. It's amazing what they did to build that and then make a finals appearance in the first tournament. That's pretty amazing stuff.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, that aren't involved with the behind the scenes stuff in professional paintball are like, oh man, well they have this player and this player and this player and this player. Like, to me, I was like, they're not going to do anything until the third event, because it's so hard to bring that many different, I mean, not just styles of play, but just that many different personalities, because those guys are all the top dogs on whatever teams they were on, or top 2 or top 3, right? So when you have that many alpha males coming together, usually doesn't pan out very quickly. but for them to make an instant
but-
impact and be in that top 2 situation is very impressive, you know. And
No, I'm not buying that. I'm sick of that being the story, Bob. 4 of them are from Impact last year. You know, like they've all played together. They've all, you know, you have J-Rab, Mouse, Kyle.
See, Bobby even said they're making an impact. You heard him?
Yeah, exactly. They're making an impact.
Yeah,
like
actually,
they took
pun intended, everybody. Pun intended.
Pun intended. They took the core of Impact that was basically the starting squad last year. So it's not like they're this brand new team. In a way, they are. They're in a new environment, new situation. You bring in Corey Hall and Celos. That does change things a little bit. But 4 of their starters are very comfortable with one another.
I don't really agree with that, right? Because I didn't see Kyle play every point. I definitely didn't see A-Rod play every point. He did. Not at this. I'm saying maybe at this event, but not last year.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, correct. Yeah,
you're
right. Yeah,
there's always going to be Mouse, for sure.
Yeah.
I would say 80-90%. Because I think last year it was Mouse and Kyle competing for a spot.
Right.
You know? They never really played them in the way that they played them here at this event. Yeah, maybe the personnel was the same, but I don't think that the people on the field, not the personnel, I'm sorry, the players were the same, but I don't think at any given time the majority of the points were played with those 4 players. And that's just to speak volumes of the talent that Impact has, right? So yes and no, but
the 3 players for sure. And if you go back to even World Cup 2020, J-Rab was not there, but Kyle was on the field a ton with Mouse. Like to say that they're, you know, this brand new team of players that have not played together, which is kind of the story built around it, is just misleading in my opinion. You know, again, I feel like they should have gotten second place. Honestly, I this whole time have said that team is going to be damn good. They have top level players that already do have cohesion, have played on a team together for a long time. They understand each other, you know, and I thought they made great additions with Corey Hall and Celos. And then the Latin players played very well too. But I expected this from them. You know, a team of that type of talent, I think you got to expect that performance from them. I mean, personally, that's where I'm at. And I know what they're trying to do with, we're ahead of schedule. You're removing the pressure from being a $500,000 payroll team, right? And when you have that kind of payroll and you also have played events together, of course the pressure's on, you know? And that's a good thing. I think what the Latin Saints have done for paintball is amazing. I hope it sticks. I hope Diego's around for the long haul. I think he will be. He has raised the bar. He has said to all the other owners, I will take your best players if you don't pay them what, you know, and again, people say, oh, well, these pros aren't worth this. They're not worth that. They don't bring that kind of money back to the team or the companies. Look, somebody is worth whatever, something or somebody is worth whatever a person is willing to pay for it. So yes, they are worth that. And the time and effort that each of those players put in to, and all the players not on the Saints that play at a high level put into paintball, Bobby, you know how much time and sacrifice it takes to be at the highest level of this game. We should be compensated for it. So I love what the Latin Saints are doing. I love that they're a team in the league. I think it is good for the sport. I think it's exciting. I think it shook things up. It definitely evened the playing field a little bit. It brought in a new entity. I think it's exciting. But this whole rhetoric that they're a new team thing just to me has to go. That's just my opinion.
I mean, I guess maybe not new team player to player, but they're in a new situation, right? Like
totally.
They have a completely different coach. It's not going to be the same.
Shout out to Shorty.
Yeah, huge shout out to my boy Short.
He's short.
Yeah,
you're right. You're right, Bob. You're right. And I that wasn't directed towards you as much. It's like what everyone is going on about. And I'm like, God, they're not really that new, but yeah, I get it.
Well, I will say this. When was the last time you saw Kyle Spica play Dorito side for a whole tournament? You know what I mean? Like that's a whole new development there as well. And
totally.
They are learning the system. And it's really cool, like we talked about earlier in the show, to have no more split deck because we were able to get a really good view of how everyone interacts in that pit, like Bobby was talking about. And that goes for all the teams. It's really entertaining to see that. And I hope, like Bobby was saying earlier, we see a lot more of that, and they really start digging into, in the pits, off the field, and obviously continuing to do the great show that they have with all the cameras and the production on the field as well. But it's really exciting where paintball's at these days for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Like, honestly, if I would have gave my pick for that last event, I didn't think Latin Saints. I thought it would be Heat Dynasty. And that's not just because you two are on the podcast. Just as far as the rosters goes, the cohesion from what happened last year to this year. But, yeah, I mean, definitely Latin Saints put everybody on check. Like, they're on the block,
Totally. Yeah. And
Which
they
is
got better
cool.
throughout the event. Like, they really, really strengthened throughout the event. I think they came out kind of swinging for the fences, running all over the place, and they tightened up and played a lot better team ball come Sunday and showed, their poise.
Yeah. You know who actually played really, really good is Silos.
Oh, yeah. He did.
Yeah.
He balled out. He really did.
I think he made a huge difference when they kind of were, Corey's a fantastic player, and who knows, next event it could be Corey over there. It could be, it could be anybody on that team, right, with that type of roster. But Silos really, he took them up a notch or two for sure. He was making stuff happen, and so that was impressive. I've never really had a chance to watch Silos a whole lot. Obviously on Ironman, he was a part of the team last year, but Ironman wasn't exactly like the team I was going on Go Sports to watch. So I haven't really seen much of him, but he really, really impressed me, and he's going to be a force to be reckoned with this season for sure.
Yeah, that Dorito side was wild on that last field as well. If you got, drop down and get lost in there, you can really do some damage on that side.
Yeah, that was a fun field to watch, honestly. It was almost like a little too much with that complex over there. Like, you couldn't exactly follow how the shots were falling, which for the viewer could have been a little bit of a downfall. But for the people that actually saw the layout in person or got to play it, like, some of the shots that were made on it, you're just like, oh my God, this is nuts. And to see how quickly games could be turned around on that side by a singular entity, like, that was pretty nuts. Like, I saw Thomas Kim probably played that side top 4, as from what I watched on the webcast. Like, there were points where they were surely going to lose, and he just go out there and boop, 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 shoot 1, 2, 3 guys. And, now the game is in Aftermath's favor.
Thomas Kim is on the up and up. His stock is on the rise. I love Thomas Kim, honestly. Just I think he's a fantastic player and a great teammate. Yeah,
he's I've never been on a team with him, but he's a really good person. Like, one of the guys that I've noticed, I'm like, usually like the very soft-spoken guys you don't hear a lot from are like the most interesting to talk to. And I've never had a bad conversation with the guy or bad interaction with the guy. Super positive person. I think he's an asset to any team he plays with. He's not overly bearing to the younger guys. He's always constructive, and definitely a hell of a paintball player. He's showed it, event after event.
Yeah.
And he, I think, is from NorCal. Is that right?
Yeah, I want to say he's from the Bay Area. I think. I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah, because he came up through DMG, and then was able to make the move to Aftermath through that camp. We'll definitely have to have him on the show and get his story, because he's been playing some great paintball out there. And like you said, an asset to his team and a great teammate as well.
Yeah, he went to the Ironman first and was part of their 2020 win out there in Vegas.
That's right.
And I mean, he played a huge part. Yeah, exactly. He played a crucial role there. On DMG, he was kind of like a player coach. I know that he did a lot of the back end stuff. So he just has a mind for the game and really understands, again, the team aspect and, building the right culture and all of the above. And so, I mean, I'm obviously always going to be an Aftermath fan. So I'm stoked that he's on Aftermath, and they're a scary team. I mean, they were right there, ready to beat us to move on to the finals this last event. They had us on the ropes.
Yeah, dude. I mean, we went down. They almost mercy ruled us, and then we brought it back
That game was nuts.
To overtime. I don't think there's been very many teams that have brought it back to overtime from down that far, but we were able to.
Point spread?
Yeah, it was looking ugly.
That was crazy. I'm not gonna lie, I didn't even, not that I stopped watching, but I had to leave, and I was like, oh man, this is not how I thought things were gonna go. Because
Yeah.
I mean, Aftermath is always going to be a contender just because of the organization and the support and the practice that they put in. But at one point when you're in the game for as long as I am, you're just like, I mean, it's just it doesn't level up, right? Like you don't really see you don't foresee a Heat going down 5-0.
No,
But
and we mercy ruled them 6-0 the day prior. And so they obviously
that's always a rough thing, man. When you mercy rule a team and then you play them the first game the next day, it's like, oh.
So they obviously came out, made adjustments, and we went into a little hole. But then we put up 6 straight points on them, or I think it was like 5, and then they won 1, and then we tied it up. But it was definitely a crazy game, and they're working hard, and that's what it's all about, right? At the end of the day, Mike Hinman, we all know sitting here, he don't play games, dude. He don't play games. You're going to show up. You're going to do the work. I guarantee you those guys are shooting paintballs out of their gun during the week, on the weekends, clocked in, doing the things that you have to do to have performances like that. It's not just by happenstance, like as people want to paint things like it just happens overnight. It just doesn't, you got to really clock in and put those gears in your car so that you can go the speeds you need to go.
100%. And again, it's like the organization, right? And that's the culture there. It's like, you better come with your hard hat on, because it's going to be a long day. There's going to be a lot of stuff falling around you. It's like, are you going to be ready for the challenge? And those dudes are, and that's all part of the preparation that Mike simulates in these practices. That's why these guys, they get beat up figuratively and physically when it comes to playing on Aftermath. That's just part of what it is.
Yeah.
You got to be
tough.
a
party.
Yeah, dude, surprise on X Factor. Like, what do you guys think happened there? I was like, all right, those guys are in my top 4 for sure.
Yeah, going into that tournament, we practiced them as well, and they looked really sharp. And I was definitely surprised that they didn't make it into Sunday, because I had them as a top 4 team as well. I was like, damn, these guys, they look sharp. They were playing really good. And I'm not entirely sure what happened, but that field was kind of crazy. If you weren't punching the right way on all angles of that field, you're susceptible to losing a point at any moment if a player gets down the Dorito or down that snake side or comes through the middle. You have to really be on top of it all on that one.
Yeah, that was I was surprised, man.
Yeah, me too.
Because you practiced them, right? He played X Factor, the first layout weekend?
The first layout weekend, it was 35 degrees out, which was perfect prep for a Sunday morning.
Oh my God.
Because it was pretty cold out there on Sunday morning. And
35 degrees, Jesus.
Yeah, it was pretty cold when we played them out in Texas, but that's good training too. You want all the elements. You want to train in super hot, super cold, because you never know what you're going to get.
Damn, 35 degrees.
Yeah,
maybe
like
miss my flight at that point.
Yeah.
Bob, speaking of playing, man, what's a story with you these days? You had retired from the game. Now it looks like you're getting the itch. You're coming back, making a little bit of some noise. I know we're gonna be playing in Europe together this year, which is super dope. Shout out to the Raiders, CP Raiders. We're gonna get to have some fun in the Pro Division over there. But yeah, what are your plans? Are you planning on making a full push? Are you just having fun with it right now? What's the deal?
Yeah, man. So I've just been really busy with getting myself set up financially. I'm probably another month out from opening a paintball field here in California. We're going to start out. It's going to be a private facility, not going to be open to the public for the time being. It's going to be directed strictly for tournament paintball. I'm going to have limited amount of teams there. All matches are going to be on clock. It's going to be ran and simulated like an event. I'm going to have it be field paint only. You're only going to be shooting tournament grade paintballs at a very reasonable price. So, I'm just really wanting to support SoCal paintball and just keep the trajectory going, if not help it. There's a lot of teams out here, a lot of hungry players. So just bring in more people to the scene. But yeah, I definitely have the itch, so to speak. I decided to play an event last season with CP Raiders out in Europe. It's crazy to see how this pandemic affected paintball in general. I went to that event and it felt smaller than some of the regional events that I've seen, growing up playing paintball. But regardless, it was a fantastic experience. I had a blast. And I'm going to be playing with CP Raiders this year in Europe with Marcelo, as he said. And I will also be playing the 2 NXL minor events and World Cup with a team out of New Zealand. They were previously called Expendables, Fielding Expendables, which Marcelo and Tyler played with out in Europe.
Yeah.
Along with Yosh, Ryan, and Yarber. Yarber's actually going to be captaining the team, with time permitting, with his obligations with Dynasty. Marcelo, any co-captaining he could give us is much appreciated. But I will be playing with.
Big love to the Kiwis. The Kiwis, baby.
Yeah. The Kiwis and the avocado is what we're called this year. But huge shout out to those guys. We are gonna be there at Dallas at the minor event. We have a couple players that are gonna be playing, the event with us that are based here out of the U.S. So I think we're gonna have a pretty successful, rest of the season playing the minors and making a push into World Cup. But my focus right now is those 2 obligations as far as the teams go, and getting my paintball park up and doing the Defy thing. I've been working with Defy here for a little over a year, just trying to make a big push here in the market, and things are going well. So that's basically what I've been up to.
Dude, that is so awesome, Bobby. And I can't wait to see you at the events running around playing again. Man, that's so. I think that was the first pro win ever for New Zealand, for the country of New Zealand, when we won out there in Prague, right, Marsh? That was the first pro win I think they've ever. Yeah.
I mean, if you don't count the pro over in Australia, but they did win pro division in Australia. But I mean, the NXL, NXL Europe, major event.
That was so much fun.
So
Great crew.
Oh my god,
that was huge, man. Considering the size of paintball in New Zealand, it's not a very big sport, and for those guys to be representing on a international scale like that, and that event was big. I was there in Prague to watch you guys win it, and it was impressive. I actually played on a team from Slovakia the season before when you guys were playing semi-pro with them. Ryan and Marcelo, that is. And it was crazy to see somebody, or a team rather, from a market as small as New Zealand to go out there and beat some of the best teams in Europe. Because even in semi-pro, there's some good teams that compete out there. That's their top of the line paintball that you can't get any better than what NXL Europe or Millennium Series was. And for them to go in and win the series in semi-pro and then go up to pro the next year and win that Prague event is huge. I think it was in every single newspaper in New Zealand, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah, the Kiwis.
Yeah, huge shout out Dave Hopkins, man. That guy's making everything happen for those kids. His son plays on the team. He plays on the team, and he's been an integral part of all the wins that I've seen them have in Australia playing against them. He actually has a paintball field in Fielding now, Fielding, New Zealand. So they're making a huge push to try to grow the sport and put New Zealand on the map even more so than they have. So a lot of respect to Dave. One of the nicest guys that I've ever met, to be honest. Shout out to his sons and the brothers that play on the squad. I'm really looking forward to doing some big things in Dallas and, therefore after in the minor and World Cup.
Yeah, they got a great family. Amazing.
They do, and they work their butts off. They have their own gorgeous field out there in Fielding, and they're out there every single day. I see Ivan out there posting all the time. Shout out to Thomas Hopkins as well, the owner's son. He unfortunately had a knee injury, so he won't be there for the first part of this season, but they're just out there every single day, and they have this beautiful plush grass field putting in the work. So I'm really excited to see them come out and compete. I'm excited for you to be, on this venture with them, and working towards, their goal is a 3-year program to earn a pro spot. So are you in it for that, or are you, like where you trying to go with it, Bobby?
It is a 3-year plan. We plan to play the whole season next year in semi-pro. And again, like I said, we're going to have a couple U.S. based players. I'm not sure, if Dave has given me the consent to announce anything, but yeah, some killers, man. We're going to go out there and we're going to make a push in Dallas. I think we'll have a very good result. And then going into next year, it's crazy times. Those guys are dealing with the same things that we are with this pandemic. New Zealand has very different restrictions than we do here. They honestly haven't even been able to leave the country for close to 2 years. And, the little travel they've been able to do to Australia, they have come back and have to quarantine for 2 weeks plus. That puts a huge strain on people. It's very difficult to do that and maintain a job and, that time away from your family. So finally happy to see that their restrictions are a little bit more lenient, and they're able to come out here and do what they love and compete in the sport that they have been so successful in thus far. So should be a great year with the Titans.
Yeah, we can't wait to see them out there at the events. And Bobby, I'm not sure if you said the name of your field or location, but is that something that you could share with us where it's going to be at?
So it's going to be in Victorville, California, which is considered the high desert in Southern California. The name that I've registered the business under is High Desert Paintball Park.
Awesome.
But yeah, again, for the time being, it's going to be restricted to team practices. I really do want to put focus on, having just a closed amount of teams there, and then really just simulating events and just having people grow in our camp and go out and compete in other markets, NXL, some of the stuff that's a little bit further east, maybe Dave's events up in NorCal, and then obviously the WCPPL, and, just grow a culture there as well. Just like, you would do on a team. I want the culture of our field to be very positive. Everybody's helping each other. It's going to be ran just like you would, attend an event. Everything's going to be timed. Everything is going to be, boom, boom, boom. And, make it as productive for the Southern California paintball players as possible, just because as of late, it's just been very congested at fields, probably for the past couple years. So I think guys are hungry for something that's a little more structured. And, obviously there's going to be people that just this culture and this type of situation isn't for them. We only want, positive people there that are looking to not only better their own situation, their own teams, but also, benefit everybody else that they're playing against. So I think it's going to be a very positive thing here in SoCal, and a good thing for the upcoming teams to learn how tournaments are ran and be able to essentially play a mini tournament every time they come out to our park.
Dude, love it. We got to make sure we're in the process of getting some PTG banners, so we're going to send you one.
Nice.
And you can fly the PTG banner out there, and we can't wait to see that all open up with the grand opening. If you have an Instagram, please tag us when you open up and do everything. We would love to share and support you and everything that you're doing, man. Congratulations with that.
Appreciate it. Yeah, we just got the turf ordered last Tuesday, so it should deliver here within the next week or two. Definitely still a lot of work to do, but
definitely.
Plans in motion. Things are moving forward, so we're excited. We have full backing from DeFi Sports, my employer. So definitely check out DeFiSports.com. Give us a shout. Look at us up on Instagram, Facebook. Give us some likes, give us some love. We will reciprocate.
Yes, PTG, go smash the like button, smash the follow, get out there and support Bobby and everything that he's doing. Because like you said, it's all about the culture of the game and making sure that we have a good environment. I can't wait to see these games run like a tournament in a practice simulation, which will be really great programming for teams, because a lot of teams, when they go out to practice, it's kind of like, okay, you're on one, down two, back
Yeah.
up, and it'll be really good training for them to be able to have that tournament kind of style experience as well.
Right. That's the whole concept, is just to simulate an event as much as possible. And obviously,
Yeah.
if a team needs an extra 15, 20 seconds to get on the gate, as
Yeah.
long as it's within reason, because we're going to run
Mhm.
2 split decks throughout the day and rotate the teams within the split deck. Yeah, I mean, it's really all just geared and based towards simulating events and preparing, our customers for whatever upcoming event they have, whether it be WC, NXL, CEPL, whatever it may be. Just want to get them ready and give them the best situation so they can go out there and win.
That'd be the first thing I tell the customer. Hey, listen, I know you're tired, but when that horn goes off, it's go time. So if you're on the box or not, it's happening.
Yeah, dude. I mean, and again, it's within reason. Like if there's
Yeah.
one guy on the box, we're not going to start the points, but it's
But
just,
I think you got to train like that too. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Like the tournament's not going to wait for you. So it's good to have that kind of that fire under them too. Like, hey man, you got to be ready. And it's a good buffer too, to know, okay, I might not be ready for this tournament. I got to run a little bit harder this week. I got to do a little bit extra because I was kind of lagging to get to the box. So it's going to be really cool to see that too.
Yeah, I think that's a thing that a lot of the teams out here, they lack, and that's just
Mhm.
because of the fields. They're so congested, and there's not good organization at some of the fields. Some have great organization, but when you're so congested, it's really hard to optimize their time and make sure that everybody's getting, their money's worth out of the experience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and all the fields are doing a great job of turning over games, and for the most part, all the fields that I go to, whether it's up north or in Texas, in Florida, they have a system as well that preps them for the tournament, so that we have a good idea of how we're going to be feeling when we show up. And if you're a field that can do that, definitely implement that into the system, because it's going to help your scene in that pocket that you're developing for that tournament style paintball there.
Absolutely, man, because they're representing, your area. They're representing your field in some cases. If they're
Mhm.
solely playing at your park,
Yeah.
it's all about, being the best and showing how you got there, and I feel that is all done through just making sure that this stuff is structured correctly, and that everybody really just gets their money's worth, to be honest. I want to make sure
Yeah.
that, they want to come back. That's the whole idea.
Yep.
Bob, I'm
Absolutely.
sorry. What's the location of this again?
It's going to be in Victorville, California. So I would think if you are in the Inland Empire, it's less than an hour. If you're in the LA area, it's about an hour and 10, hour and 15. San Diego, probably an hour and 30 if you shoot straight up the 15. So pretty accessible, even considering, I'm from the San Fernando Valley area. I drive close to 2 hours to go to Victory, which is one of my favorite parks. Um, it's another 2 hours to get out to ASG, which is another one of my favorite parks. Locally, I have Ambush, a good friend of mine, Glensfield, which, I have a great time going out there and playing. It's just the congestion, honestly. The congestion, it's hard to go out there and, you know, get there at 9, spend your day there until 2 or 3 or whatever it may be, and only get a few points in. And that's not the park owner's fault. It's just we have so many paintball players here in Southern California. It's just the reality. We're a very congested state.
Yeah.
100%.
SoCal paintball is booming. There's so many paintball teams and so many people that are hungry to be better at this game. It's really amazing to see. What's your take on, SoCal paintball these days? I know it's been through the highs and the lows, but what's your take on LA paintball these days, bro?
Uh, yeah, I mean, I think the LA paintball scene is striving. I just don't think that enough teams take it as seriously as we did back in the day.
Hmm.
They're more out there for just, the good old boys hangout club. In my day, it was like, hey, man, like we're taking this seriously. Let's not waste each other's times. Let's try to make sure these are structured and very productive practices. But a lot of people are just going out to mess around, which is, that's all good and great. Um, that's obviously for some people, that's what paintball is about. Just go out there and have a good time. But there needs to be that place for teams that are very serious about bettering themselves and playing structured, controlled paintball in that type of environment. And that's what we want to supply. But I definitely think that there's still a ton of potential for teams to go out on even on the national stage and perform. There are those very hungry teams. Like I can say Sicarios is one of those organizations. One of the teams that they have a ton of players, and those guys are out there every weekend, and anytime they could have some type of a structured environment, they will strive to do it. I'm also a big fan of a lot of the teams that play out of Combat Paintball Park, owned by Edwin Dolgapat, who's also a good friend of mine. In Wolverine, I guess, would be the next closest field to me, where I see a lot of players that do want to be a part of a controlled organization, not just go out there and shoot a case of paint and, call it a day at one. Like, these guys are out there wanting to get better. And, we're just going to give them another place to go out and play in that type of a structured environment. And, I could probably put my money on it that the teams that are very, I guess, consistent on practicing in the type of environment that we're going to supply are going to be very successful in the tournaments that they play in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man.
Yeah, man.
So true. Bobby, I do want to touch on San Diego Aftermath, because I feel like you had a huge part in creating that culture like we talk about in Aftermath. How did you find Aftermath, or how did Aftermath find you? How did that relationship start?
Yeah, that's it's kind of funny because I could literally pinpoint the day. It was at a practice in which I was playing 7-man with Infamous for a practice, and we were playing against Arsenal, my old 7-man team. And at the end of the day, I went down. This was at Raza Park. This was at a park that Todd Martinez owned down in San Diego. We had finished our 7-man practice, and I headed down to the X-ball fields. I think he had 4 different turf fields, the 7-man being on top and 3 other turf fields on the bottom, or 2 other turf fields on the bottom. I don't recall, but went down, and Aftermath was still out there grinding. They had finished their practice maybe against Dynasty. I would assume it would be Dynasty. That was their normal sparring partner, and they were still running points. And I asked Mike, "Hey man, can I hop on a couple points?" Had a couple big points. And me and Mike had already established a friendship, and I had a very big respect for him, being, one of the integral parts of Dynasty's championship season that season. And, he had asked me to play on the team prior, but it was kind of just like a loose mention. After I went out, played a couple points with them, he's like, "Hey man, like, I know you personally. I know how you are. I know the fire you have inside of you. We're looking for somebody to kind of step in after Mouse's and Marcelo's departure to the Ironman, and kind of be a leader on this team. Are you willing to do that?" And I said, "Yeah, definitely." And that's where it started. That day is where it started. He handed me a jersey, and I spent one more event playing 7-man with Infamous. And after that, I was full Aftermath. And that is where I think I really, cut my teeth. I think that's where I really learned to become a winner, and learned how a real grind is. Shooting 120 cases per weekend is not even easy to do, to be honest. You could try, and it's difficult. And Mike be like, "Hey man, I got you guys 120 cases. I expect you to shoot 120 cases." So
yeah, you're going to be up from 7 a.m. till 5 p.m. the whole time.
I loved it. I think the majority of the team loved it. Obviously when 5 o'clock rolls around, people are starting to drop off a little bit, but for the most part, we had a team that we collectively wanted to grind, and we collectively wanted to kind of have that, FU mentality and go out and beat teams up. I think we won the semi-pro season 3 events into the season. So that kind of just speaks volumes of the type of determination and the type of superiority we had to any other organization in the division, aside from Avalanche. I think was the only other team that was even close. So yeah, if you can win a series 3 events in out of 5, I think that speaks volumes of how successful your team's going to be.
Hell yeah. What year was that you joined with Aftermath?
That was 2006.
2006. And how many seasons did you play with the organization?
I played up until 2010. 2010 is when I went over to Infamous.
That's right.
Yeah, I think at one point there was just not a full clear picture if Aftermath was still going to be a team. We had Mouse come back, we had Marcelo come back, and they had some life-changing offers to go back and play with the Ironman. And that was, 2 of our best players, what some would consider part of the core of the team. And there was talks of Aftermath not folding, but maybe taking a break, I think, in Mike's eyes. And there was even talks about Aftermath and Infamous merging at one point. And excuse me, it wasn't Mouse. Mouse was still on the team. He was going to do that Infamous Aftermath merger, and then Marcelo went to Infamous. That's what it was. It wasn't the Ironman recall just yet. But after that, we went over to Infamous, and I spent probably the bulk of my career there.
What's one of your all-time favorite memories from being on Aftermath? Even, on off the field, just great, fun group of guys who knew how to ball.
Man, it's hard to pinpoint any one, just because we were so close. Yeah. We had Mike had 2 apartments for us right by Rosa Park. So, from the paintball field back to the apartment, we were there hanging out. Just a ton of debauchery, a ton of good times. Probably just one of the best times was after we had won that Jacksonville event, and then we drove down to Florida for World Cup as just a road trip. I think we had like a caravan of cars, and just stopping and hanging out at the beach or doing this, that, or the other. Just a lot of good times. Just laughs, and that's one thing that team. It was just a constant comedic atmosphere. There were so many just like witty, funny guys on the team that it just made for constant comedy. And that's probably one of the reasons I stuck around no matter what, and I loved it. I loved the team. I loved everybody on it, and very thankful for those years I got to spend with the guys.
Yeah, it wouldn't be right if we didn't shout out Moose, Lord of the Moose Ward.
Yeah,
Ward
to this
Ward
day,
of the Hollow.
To this day, one of my best friends. One of my best friends till the day I died. Talked to him. I didn't talk to him. Was just texting him last night, actually. But yeah, big shout out to my boy, Mr. Josh Minkowski.
Yeah, and Ward of the Hollow.
Yeah, man. Stephen Pitts.
Pitts. Yeah,
one of my boys.
Yeah,
everybody, man. Dalton Vanderbilt, Stephen Pitts, Rainey.
Yeah,
Marcelo, Mouse, Tyler. We had some of the best guys to ever pick up a paintball gun were at one point on that team together. Which, not to say that we got along all the time, but hey, man,
it was a party. It was fun.
It was a great time.
And Mike worked so hard and allowed us to really, like you said, put in those extra hours and really, show what we're made of as well on the paintball field. And I attribute success on my behalf, and I know all of us sitting here, to Mike as well, in the way that he programmed us to think about the game and just approach life in general. You got to go get it. Nobody's going to hand shit over to you. You want something, go get it and go work hard, and just have a mindset like that, and you'll be able to attack anything.
Yeah. I think one of the most genius things Mike did and was able to do was, he was able to see the pieces of the puzzle, right? Because all of us were great paintball players. And he knew, when there was an opportune time to grab somebody that wasn't only just a teammate that a player that we wanted, but a teammate that we wanted. Like when we were able to grab Scott Kemp onto the team, it instantly boosted our camaraderie. When we were able to bring Tyler onto the team, it was, instantly, like, everybody is that much more excited and invested in the situation. And I think he did a very good job of just kind of, seeing it from an outside perspective and reading the situation and being like, I think this guy is only going to make us better, not only just with his individual skill, but just with the camaraderie and the way that he will conduct himself within our organization. That's one thing I think that a lot of people oversee and a lot of people undervalue when it comes to paintball, because you spend so much time with each other, with traveling, practicing, like, there's just so much downtime where you're sitting around at an airport. I don't want to hang out with some dude that I just barely know. You could be the best paintball player in the world, but if I'm going to spend 5 hours with this dude and he has about as much intellect as a piece of wood standing next to me, like, it's not going to be very stimulating for me. And it's, I'd much rather have somebody there that's equally as good, or sometimes maybe not even as good, that's gonna keep building that cohesion, and makes it that much easier to go after what all of our end goal is to be a successful paintball team and win some tournaments.
That's right, man. Yeah, man.
Yeah,
Go ahead, Marsh.
There's an absolute art to building a team, and you can't have 5 or 10 of the same players. You need players with different personalities. You need players that bring different skills to the group. You need players that bring different traits or needs. It's really interesting, and it's something that I've learned a lot about. One from Mike, because I agree with you, Bobby, 100%. I think he did such a great job of putting the right group of players together. He did a good job of mixing your different skills that would complement one another. And I've really learned in coaching teams how important that is. You can't have a bunch of young, fast snake attackers. You need the responsible individuals on the team. You need someone that might be a little reckless on the field. You need someone that can be the rock out there. You need to have this good balance of different things. And it's like this perfect, blend that comes together to create a win. And, it's absolutely an art, and it's in my opinion, it's like the most fun part of building a team is being able to kind of be the chemist and find all these different ingredients and put them together to see what kind of spice you're going to have in the meal you're cooking. But Mike did that so well, and he's always done that well, and he still does it well. That's why Aftermath today, without any real superstars, I mean, maybe you could make the argument that Thomas Kim is in that conversation. He certainly plays like it, but again, he's very, soft-spoken, not one of those players that's out, looking for the shine, but that team just works. It just fits, the pieces fit. They believe in what they're doing. They've got culture. And it's funny how Mike can just take it over, and the team is in a way better position from just the year before. It's happened. He's done it like 2 times already, where he stepped away from Aftermath for a little bit and he comes back in, and all of a sudden the team goes from not doing well at all to being an instant contender.
Yeah, and I think the other mastermind when it comes to that role as a coach, recruiter, whatever you want to call it, is definitely hands down Todd Martinez. And the way I could see Todd even takes it like that extra step. Not to say that Mike's not like the guy that's going to step in and be your friend, because outside of everything, Mike's all of our friends. But Todd, he's that guy that's in there no matter what. Like, he's going to be drinking beers with you in the room, cracking jokes after the event, everything, that you would think of, the teammate next to you. Todd is that as well, but he also knows, hey, like, I gotta kind of wheel it back and put myself back up in that authoritative position, which made it really, really easy to play for him. And it makes it really easy just to kind of have open conversations with him about anything, really. And I think with Mike, it was a little bit different. It was like, and obviously at that time, like, all of us were kids, right? So it's like, this is the authoritative guy. You almost have to pull some stuff back. But, at that time, it worked. It worked with the people that we had. But I think with Todd, like, this day and age, it doesn't matter the age group. Todd's going to put the best group of guys together, and Todd's able to communicate with all those guys equally, equally across the board. And I think that's hugely important. I think he's done that with every single team that he's been a part of, that I've been a part of, right? I can't speak on other coaches and how they conduct themselves around their players just because I haven't been around that environment. But yeah, those two, as far as the coaches that I've had throughout my career, I can't speak highly enough about either of them.
Yeah, man. Todd Martinez is so damn inspiring. Just, especially for us as older players, we're in our 30s, lower 30s, coming into mid 30s. And what he did for the game when we were younger, seeing what he did, how he played, how he approached paintball, that shit is inspiring, man. You got to go back and watch what he did, and even just the comedy stuff, the funny stuff he did, like with his bits on the short bus, or just, everything that he's brought to paintball has just been tremendous. And so to be able to, and I know we've all, apprenticed under Todd, but have that opportunity to pick his brain and see how he approaches everything is really refreshing and truly inspiring out there.
Yeah, I agree 100%.
Yeah, man.
He is the man. Who's the guy on? I always wonder this, Marcelo. Who's the guy that's like, hey, I want to pick up Mike Urena, or I want to pick up Artie? Is that, I feel like on Dynasty it's more of a collective than one certain entity, which is interesting.
It's certainly a team decision. Anybody that we want to bring on board, pretty much the whole team has to agree on. One of the main concepts of the team is if you don't want to room with a guy, you're not going to be on the squad. But, the team puts a lot of thought into picking up players because Dynasty does not like to or want to cut anybody. And so if we're going to pick somebody up, it's because we really believe they're going to fit in with the culture. They're gonna buy into the system, buy into the organization and what we have planned long term. You look at like somebody like Damien, for example. We go into that knowing what Damien is and the project that he's going to be and the time that it's going to take to get him to where we think he can get to. So each player is unique and the conversation's different around them, and often it's a collective. Not one person can just put their foot down and say, this person's on the team, or this person's cut from the team. Even
I'm sure there's thousands of listeners out there wondering, what is it? Because there's divisional players that want to be in Damien's shoes, right? What was it about him that sparked interest and made it a thing where you said, hey, let's look into picking up this player, and maybe there's players out there who will listen to this and can grow off of that and attribute some of his success into their formula?
Preparation meeting opportunity. That's all it was. We were down in Mexico. Skinny Kevin came down to coach the team that I was playing with, and Damien ended up having a really good event. I think Skinny Kevin went down one more time. I wasn't down there, and Damien's team won the event. And Damien played really well. And so Skinny Kevin was impressed by how Damien performed down there. So Kevin does a great job of building relationships. He connected with Damien, found out Damien lives in Encinitas. Damien wanted to come out and practice just to try to get better. So Damien was trying to see if he can get on the field with us to prepare for events with his semi-pro team. Well, one of the weekends we didn't have Dalton. We were a little short-handed. We had some injuries. So we said, come out, be a body for us. We'll get some reps on one of the layout weekends for one of the events for World Cup, actually. And he came out and he was one of the better players that weekend. He had great survivability. He was a good teammate. He did a good job of just listening and filling in where we needed him to. He didn't talk back. He was really open to whatever we needed him to do. And in my opinion, what stood out to me was his survivability. No matter where we put him, he would always be alive. And to me, that's a tremendous skill to have. That's such an important part of the game. We could work on other stuff, and it's not like he was just hiding and not doing anything. He was in good spots, or he would be in uncomfortable positions in the middle or far up the Dorito side, and he would be alive. And that's really valuable, right? You can work around that for sure. So I think everybody kind of took notice and was like, wow, that was, he had great gun skills, kind of a unique style. He honestly reminds me a lot of Harrison Fry. in how he's a squirrely type player, kind of sporadic and just a pain in the butt on the field, like just one of those players that is kind of all over the place, but not all over the place in the same breath. It's just like kind of new wave style of play. And so, yeah, I think the team had kind of made the decision that we wanted to have more bodies. We were looking to pick up some younger players to bring some youth in, bring some new players in. So he just kind of fit the mold of all that. Again, preparation meeting opportunity. He showed up. Dynasty was in position where we wanted to pick up another player. We had a lot of injuries last year. We were short-handed at some of the events. And he was in the right place at the right time, performed, had a good attitude, and the stars kind of aligned. So at World Cup, I think right after we won, I think Skinny Kevin offered him a spot on the team, like while we were celebrating. He was like, "What?
Awesome.
What do you mean? You guys just won World Cup? What do you mean? Do I want to play for you guys? Fuck yeah, I want to play for you guys." So yeah, here we are. I think he also promised to teach everybody on the team how to salsa dance. That was a pretty big bonus.
Well, that carries quite a bit of weight, let me tell you.
Yeah, that's heavy.
Dude, I actually had a chance to see him when he played on Newbies. I was at one of the NXLs last year with Violence, and I watched him like literally shoot 5 guys in 30 seconds. And I was like, who is this kid? It was down a really strong Dorito side. I forgot what event it was, but he literally just like 1, 2, 3, 4, and then went and like bunkered the last guy. I'm like, wow, this kid's pretty good. Definitely. And then next thing I knew, he was playing with you guys. I didn't know he lived in Encinitas. I thought he moved out here to play with you guys.
No, he had just moved to Encinitas. So again, It's just kind of a perfect storm, again, preparation, meeting opportunity. He kind of, realized it for himself. Obviously, like if he didn't live in Encinitas, I don't know that, well, obviously we wouldn't really ask him to come out to that practice, and I don't know that he would have had that opportunity, but it was like, for us, it was minimal effort on our end. Why not have him come out? And then he showed us that he was really valuable. And could be valuable. So, just a little bit of a perfect storm of everything. And I'm really excited because I think he can be incredibly good. I think he has the potential to be one of the stars in the game.
Yeah. Super nice kid too, by the way.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
nice kid.
No doubt. He's great.
And
he's
he moved
funny.
from the East Coast. Is that right?
Yeah. He moved from Florida. So I think he was in Miami. He's got a great story. I would love to get him on the show but I get it. He's like, I want to prove myself first. I want to, earn it. But he's got a great story. He like worked as a boat captain. He was in the Navy, years back. And then he lived in Miami and was like a boat captain. And they would like, one of those boats where like when you're in the Caribbean, you go and you rent a yacht for the day and you've got the crew on board and they got the music and booze going. He was like one of those guys, just salsa dancing, having a good time. So he's
that's crazy.
The life of the party for sure.
That's awesome.
Damn, I want to join the Navy.
Yeah.
No, I know he did. He did his time. I was looking at some of his Instagram posts, and he definitely put in the work in the Navy, man. Mad props to that. Mad props to all the military out there for sure.
Yes. Yeah. Big love to all the armed forces out there. And, they allow us to have the luxury of living in this amazing country and being able to play this game that we all love so much. Bobby, I know your number was 32 when is it going to continue to be 32 as you continue in your career this year playing?
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't have a reason to change it.
What is the significance of 32? It's like a question that we like to ask the guests about their jersey numbers. Why did you choose 32?
I can't say on the podcast.
32 ounces.
What do you mean you can't say? You have to say now.
No, it's an inside. Trouble. It's an inside thing. It's because it was Yosh. Yosh was my favorite player coming up, so that's why. Yosh, number 32. That's why.
There we go. 32 ounces.
Dude, huge shout out, though. I think this guy does not get enough love. Just thinking back on the Dynasty win. Dalton Vanderbilt, who also was like probably at sometimes the best player on Aftermath at any time that I was on Aftermath.
Oh,
and he doesn't get the love, so I just want to throw it out there. Fig's the man. Shout out to all the Vanderbilt family too. Thriller, I know you're out there somewhere.
Dalton definitely gets the love, especially amongst the pros. But you're right, he doesn't get what he deserves because, I mean, to me, he's at any given day is the best player on the field. 100%. Like he's top 5
Yeah.
consistently ever since he's come back to Dynasty. Just the knowledge that he brings and the cadence in which he plays, and especially when he's on the field. I mean, the team, everything about the team is better. And yeah, I mean, I can't say enough good things about Dalton. He's just a stud out there, especially when he's healthy. He's feeling good right now. I'm excited to have him, kind of full strength. Dalton is, man, it's just one of the best, hands down.
Also, best family ever on all sides. Along with the family that he's growing. He's got 2 beautiful sons and a beautiful wife, and they're just they're rocking. And actually, he's actually moving to Arizona.
Yeah.
Oh,
they're
wow.
gonna be moving up. Yeah,
It's out there in Havasu right now, living it up, and waiting for his place to be done. They have a nice, beautiful home being built out there near you, Ty.
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah. So he's gonna be playing. I'm sure I think he's gonna be
Biggie.
traveling back and forth, obviously, to play from Arizona and out on the coast there. But he's one of the best, no doubt about it, man.
Mhm.
Fig.
One of the most winningest players in the history of the game, too. I guess I just found out about this. Kyle was telling me that Tom Cole has a list of, and they don't take into account NPPL wins. I guess it's just PSP or NXL. But I want to get that list so we could share it. But I guess Dalton's
that would
pretty
be
high
really cool
on the list. Yeah.
Definitely Dalton, dude. Definitely Dalton, Marcelo, Mouse, T. You got to be up there.
And the Russians, I'm sure the Russians have a bunch of
Mishka was super high up there. Fedorov
I'm sure
was super high
Ryan's in the top 500.
Yeah.
I think Ryan's won more paintball tournaments than there have been paintball tournaments somehow. It's crazy. That guy.
That's funny.
So what are you guys thinking prediction-wise for event 2, next NXL major? Let's just say top 6 so you don't have to put your teams in the mix.
Top 6. I think Impact's going to be up there. I think they're gonna be really strong. Actually, I think when you
X
talk
Factor,
about,
of course.
yeah, when you talk about like putting together a good group of players that complement each other, I think Impact actually did a great job filling out their roster. Heat's for sure going to be in there, in my opinion. I think if Russians come back full strength, I think after having that first event back fully together, I think you got to have them in there. X Factor, us.
Yeah, that's kind of.
I think the Saints are probably going to do it again too. Top 6. Yeah, I think they can. Be right there. I mean, shoot, it's tough though. Aftermath, you're going to count them out? No, I don't know if you can.
I think Damage is going to be in the mix next event. I think they'll be in the top 4.
Yeah, the thing about Damage though is I've been saying that every event for the last 2 years. It's crazy.
Letting you down.
In a way, I mean, I'm glad they did, because we had to play them in Orlando, and honestly, maybe things are different if we don't beat them, because they were playing really well in this last event. Yeah, it's tough right now, Bobby. There's so much talent in the league. All the teams are the teams are all stacked. I mean, even you have Level Up, 3rd place last event.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really tough. It's really tough.
Yeah, I mean, I think those are like the locked in guesses, but I think definitely. I think Damage will be in the mix. Aside from that, I don't really differ from what you had just said, to be honest. I think Level Up will they'll be in the top 8. I don't know if they'll be in the top 4 again, but dude, I really liked watching that Snake guy play.
Danny?
Yeah, he killed it.
Yeah, he's good. He is really good. 100%.
Shout out Dave Pando, man. That guy, him and Robbie.
I love Pando, man. Yeah, they're doing a great job. We just had Robbie on the show, actually. It was
a good one. I like Robbie, man. I like Robbie a lot.
Yeah, shout out to
he's
Robbie.
the man. We actually practiced LVL out at Tiki's Paintball in Florida. Shout out to Tiki Time. Yeah, nice. It's a really cool field out there.
BCat, my man, we have a ton of Discord questions from the PTG fam. Mind if we get into some of them?
Shoot, baby.
Let's rock.
All righty. Let's go.
All right.
You got it, Ty?
Oh, go ahead.
You go first.
I was just going to say from RGZ, ask Bobby what his favorite event was, stateside or overseas, and then maybe your favorite memory from excessive or infamous practices or those days?
Man, it's hard. Favorites are just hard. There's been so many great memories, but I think probably winning that MPPL Jacksonville, just because it was Aftermath's first win, and I was probably the oldest guy on the team, being, I want to say 20.
No, Lasoya was
No.
on the team.
Oh, you're right, Chris.
You're a pony
Yeah.
boy.
Aside from Chris, and I was probably 19 or 20 at the time, so that was definitely a very, very fond memory. With Infamous, it would have been winning that first PSP with Marcelo there in 2010. Sorry, what was the second part of the question?
Oh, just favorite memory from like excessive or infamous, but that was perfect. Yeah, that was the Mudfest, right?
Which one?
No, that wasn't the tournament that was super
No,
muddy.
what? 2010 was muddy.
Yeah.
And honestly, when you guys were talking about the Aftermath thing, Tyler, with Heat, we lost to Aftermath in the last game of prelims. And like on Sunday, obviously it's knockout stage. They beat us 6-0, Marcel. I don't know if you remember that. They mercy ruled us with Mouse on the team in that 2010 event. So they mercy ruled us, and then we played them first game on Sunday, and then we ended up beating them. That's why I was like, man, it's always rough playing that same team that like you either beat or whomped on in the prelims, because that next day it's like, man, that's always lingering in your head, right? Whether it could be towards the positive or the negative of the situation. Usually the cards fold the other way. But yeah, those two events would probably be the ones that stick out the most. I would have a ton of like international events, but the significance really isn't there.
Yeah. I mean, anytime you can travel abroad and go out there and play paintball, it's the best times ever.
Yeah, definitely. I just don't think that they're as I would put them as high up there, just because, you know, the talent isn't the same that you're playing against. But yeah, those were definitely the two biggest ones that stick out in my mind.
Awesome.
Yeah, I mean, that kind of leads perfectly into this next question. However, I understand not being able to answer the favorite. This one's always a tough one, but from our boy Bat, Bobby, where's your favorite place paintball has taken you? And do you have any advice for the next generation of Globetrotters?
Man, that's also a really hard one.
You've traveled so much.
It's so hard.
Yeah, it's a hard one. I'll always have a special place for Australia in my heart, just because I probably spent the most extended amount of time there. At one point, I was there for 3 months. I played 3 different tournaments. Wasn't hotels. I was staying with a friend. You know, got to meet his group of friends, and met some of my best friends that had no idea what paintball even was. And yeah, I would definitely say Australia.
Australia is so much fun, dude. I can't wait until we can get back over there. It's one of my favorite places to travel and play. Shout out to Mike Wybrew and their field out there. Super Sevens. It's just a really good time. Love Sydney. Dude, Bobcat, we've had some fun times in Sydney.
Yeah, definitely. It's kind of hard not to have a good time in Sydney.
Yeah.
But yeah, shout out to Mike Wybrew. He made it possible for a lot of us to go out there and you know, not only play hard but party hard too. So it's really really good times.
Yeah, amazing paintball scene out there. All right, we got CB2K. He wants to know hashtag bring back the box, the penalty box. First off, that's been a big discussion. Would you bring back the penalty box? And
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I want to hear you.
I would only bring back the penalty box if Zach Wake decided to play paintball again.
I knew you were going to say that. That's hilarious.
Probably the funniest thing I have ever seen, not only in relation to the penalty box, but the funniest thing I've seen in paintball is Zach Wake, who's one of my best friends. Also, I love Zach. I actually just was texting with him earlier today. And Zach was already serving a penalty. He was playing with the Russian Legion, and he obviously played on Infamous with us, but he was playing with the Russians that event. He was serving a penalty. He was about to come out of the penalty and didn't even get halfway outside the box before he got another penalty. And it was like a revolving door for him. They just sent him. And it was funny because he kind of like, you know, came out of the box, got blown up, shot somebody, got a penalty, and then he hopped right back like over this little railing thing that they had. He just kind of like hopped over it like it was like second nature. Like, oh yeah, I kind of expected that. And then just kind of was just chilling in the penalty box again. But that was hilarious. Shout out to Zach and his pops and his mom and his brother.
Yeah,
Mad love.
the
I
whole squad.
stayed out in Tennessee with them for like a week too. I've got mad love for them definitely.
Yeah, the Wake fam is the best. We actually, me and Mouse stayed with Wake for like a week as well after an event, and
Nice.
great times out there in Tennessee. And then the second part of the question is related to paintballs. With PEG as a product being more and more expensive due to various factors making the paintballs, do you foresee PEG usage in paintballs ever coming back as mainstay, or will tech with starch oil-based products be able to catch up to the old school premium formulas? Kind of a paint question there.
Yeah, I mean, just to be brutally honest, like nobody makes 100% peg ball anymore. There is just components of starch. That's just the norm in the industry. And I really don't see it affecting it that much. If you look at the peg to starch ratio is obviously gonna affect the way the ball performs. But I think when you're getting into those upper echelon paints, like our tournament grade, HK's level 5-star, Evil, all the top of the line stuff has a very minimal amount of starch in it. And dude, honestly, I think I've seen some of the best paint probably in quite a while this past season. Huge shout out to Mike's Paint, competitor of mine, but a friendly competitor being in GI. Mike's last event, the WC, had some of the best paint that I've shot in quite a while. So yeah, the oil portion of the question, I think oil should just completely be thrown out of the equation, just due to its staining properties. It's hard to clean up, and realistically, if you're trying to like nickel and dime over making a paintball, the cost isn't so significant that you would have to go that route, to the point where you're putting out a product that's not gonna really entice people to ever play paintball again, to be honest. Like, if you get something that's going to stain your clothes, or something that's so gooey, like you're having a bad experience just cleaning it off on your way home, probably not going to go out and play paintball again for your first timers out there. So the weight of risk for reward, I think they should just do away with oil altogether. We don't manufacture with oil at all. So, I think that's probably the way to go about it. But yeah, as far as 100% virgin peg ball, not super necessary. The product and formulation that all of the manufacturers are putting out in their upper echelon grade, I think is right there with it.
Awesome. Yeah, man. The paintball, the science of paint.
Yeah, 100%. Hey, there's another part to that question too. Shout out to CB2K, because these are great questions. But yeah, paint to me is such a crucial one. We have to have good paint, especially at the rec fields. When people are coming to experience paintball for their first time, we have got to have a good ball for them. That shoots straight, right? It doesn't have to be super brittle. It doesn't have to be all that, but it has to shoot straight. Has to not break in your gun. Has to not be too bouncy either, though, because that hurts. And for younger kids, that's a little bit of a deterrent too.
Absolutely.
But the second part.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead.
Yeah, I think for most first-time players, if you're not going to get the actual effect of a paintball breaking, there's no real reason to come back. I mean, it not only are you not seeing the paint splatter, but, in the other very detrimental part of that is that if a paintball is not going to break upon impact, that inertia, it's not broken out into a wider space or a wider surface. It's literally pinpointing one part of your body, which is going to make it a lot more painful. There's definitely a lot of components into making a paintball that's going to fly straight and going to break upon impact, and that's definitely a very hard thing to master as far as being a paint manufacturer, because at the end of the day, it's a gelatin capsule, so it's susceptible to how your weather is, how it's stored, all these things come into play. I just don't think there's enough education for the field owners on how to store it, make sure that you're buying the proper formula for whatever weather you're going to be in. And honestly, just a big part of it is the manufacturer or the distributors just trying to make a buck and cutting corners
Totally.
where they can. And, not really looking at the broader picture, which is, we want return customers out of these people that are going to play paintball for the first time.
Exactly. Damn. Yeah, I couldn't have said it better, Bob. So, okay, second question of that. There's been discussions in the PTG world revolving around superstar teams and organizations poaching players from smaller and less funded camps. What are your thoughts on the whole topic regarding roster locks, trades, etc.?
Yeah, it's a very touchy topic. Because what these teams are offering is, it's not only a better playing situation in the way that you're going to be surrounded by more talented players and you're getting a an advantage. I guess you're getting into a better situation that you're more likely to be successful and place into the top 4 or the top 2, or at the end of the day, everybody that I've encountered that plays tournament paintball, their end goal is to win tournaments. That's on one side of the benefit, but also most of these teams are offering to not only pay for all your stuff, but also give you compensation. So unfortunately, in our sport, in the professional division, some of these teams aren't really professional in the way that they're coming out of pocket to travel to practice or tournaments. Some of them even have to pay a portion of their paint bill. So obviously, when somebody comes along and eliminates any of that expense and is also saying, hey, man, you get to play against 4 of the best dudes, or 4 of, the top 20 dudes in the league, it's kind of hard to turn it down, And then it also goes back to these teams that are, some of the lower echelon, I suppose, pro teams. Yeah, it sucks. Like, they're fighting an uphill battle constantly against, the top 6, I guess even the top 8 teams in the division. And it gets frustrating. It drains your pocket. It could definitely affect your want to go out there and practice every weekend. If you're getting beat up every time you play another pro team, sometimes people, reevaluate what they're doing. But yeah, I guess to say that they should have restrictions or sanctions for certain teams, I don't know, because I still put myself in like a player's perspective. I would be all for getting more money to play.
Yeah, I honestly, Bob, I agree. I feel like until there's at least a player minimum, players should be able to, get rewarded for what they do. And if they have a better opportunity, then who's to say they can't go take that? Now, I would be a fan of, locking the rosters around Chicago or something. I think they do already do something similar to that, or I know they used to. So you don't bail totally mid-season, but like I heard this offseason talk of having to notify your team that you're going to be entering free agency before World Cup, and not being able to make any moves like after January 1st or something. I'm like, that's all a little crazy until we have at least a player minimum, player minimum salary. Then we can maybe consider some of that stuff.
Yeah, I think like the only real, and I wouldn't even say it's like a quick resolve, but the management of these teams, I guess maybe it doesn't have to be like a legally binding contract, but at least like a memorandum of understanding between the player and the organization, stating, hey, like, maybe they're not getting all their stuff paid for, right? But they're getting half their stuff
Right.
paid for. If they played semi-pro, they're paying for all their stuff. If they have this type of memorandum of understanding and, you tell them like, look, man, I'm willing to pay for this stuff for you, but I need you to commit to the end of the season. Maybe even if it's not legally binding, it'll make you second guess like what kind of person you are. Because when you shake somebody's hand, in my eyes, that's an agreement. When I agree to something with you for the duration of what our agreement's supposed to be, that is what it is. And if you don't, respect and uphold that agreement. And that speaks volumes of your integrity and the type of person you are. And to me, those people probably feel worse internally than any organization could feel about them.
Well said, dude. Totally agree. I think you nailed it.
All right, we got Dorfster. We got the Dorfster 420. As someone who has always taken on a leadership role on whatever team you've played for, I'm looking to emulate that with his team. Shout out to the Blaze Gang. What do you believe is one of the most important things to do in order to best prepare for taking on a role like that?
For me, it wasn't really preparing for it. It's just the way I am. I've definitely always tried to watch out for people around me and try to, put them in the best position to be successful if they're under my captaincy. But it really has just been a trial and error type of situation. Anytime that I've been appointed into an authoritative role or a leadership role, I take it seriously. Not to say that I've always done it well or perfectly. It's been ups and downs, absolutely. And I think that's the only way you could really attempt to master that position is, you're going to have people agree with you at times. You're going to have people disagree with you at times. It really comes back to how you circle back and move forward after your disagreements and how you can grow your organization or your situation with the team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man. Absolutely, dude.
All right. Let's see. Dorfster always comes through with some great questions. All right. From Jens, what are your thoughts about your former team, the Ironmen, this season?
I think it's really cool that they went out and tried to get talent from different areas, not just Southern California.
Yeah.
I respect the organization and I respect the backing of the organization, Dye being the main sponsor of the company. And, they're taking a huge leap. They're going in with a lot of players that, they have a lot of growing to do, I think. But Dye and Ironman as a organization to be willing to put them into this situation and stand behind them, I think speaks volumes of what they're trying to do. But, I can only see them getting better. That's for sure. I think that they're going to have a very trying year, but you can only try to do what you can and put yourself in the best position to win some matches this year and reevaluate at the end of the season.
Absolutely, dude.
Agreed.
Yeah, you got to be clocked in. They definitely have a long road ahead of them, but if they do the work and trust in each other and create those bonds and that chemistry, like we talked about, anything's possible, and they can be a great team out there on that field.
Definitely. I mean, you saw it at the beginning of that infamous match.
Yeah,
that I was watching, and they're like 3-0. I'm like, hey, if you could
You
go
still
up
watch all the games, dude. You watch all of them.
Yeah. I mean, why wouldn't I? I love paintball.
Yeah, my
yes,
man.
Sir. All love for paintball.
Loves you, dude. I can't wait to see you back on the pro field.
Yeah, he's coming back. Let's go.
Yeah.
All right, we got rounder 11. When is the next 7-man slam? Out of all the teams that you've played on, which one or maybe players do you miss the most, team or players?
First off, shout out. Thanks for shouting out the 7-man. That was an event I did earlier this year, and great turnout. Super fun. Everyone had a blast. We're probably going to be doing one towards the end of May, but stay posted. Keep your eyes on Defy's Instagram, Facebook, social media platforms. Probably the group I miss the most would be my Aftermath guys. Just because it's been so long and so far apart, Scott Kemp, Josh Minkowski, those are best friends to me till the day I die. Yeah, definitely some of the best times I've had in paintball with those guys, that whole squad. So yeah, I mean, those would probably be the dudes. I could name anybody on that roster and they would fall under that same category.
Yeah. The boys.
And that kind of answers Kaylin's question from Inspired Paintball. What team have you played on that you felt was the most cohesive? I assume it was that Aftermath team.
It depends what you mean, cohesive as a friendship or cohesive as a paintball team. No, I mean, every team that I've played on, I've been fortunate enough to have very good relationships within the organization. I just think that as far as cohesiveness and bonding, it was Aftermath strictly because we were all in generally the same age group. When I played
Totally.
on Infamous or even on Ironman, when I had my first year playing pro, I was 16 years old, and my roommates were like 28. So there's a little bit of an age gap.
Sure.
All right, Bunkered Media, in your opinion, what is holding paintball back from being as big as it should be, and what can we do to get it where it needs to be?
I think we're definitely going in the right direction. Just touching back onto what we were talking about is how Go Sports, who is our main platform, right, for people to watch paintball, is always getting better. They're always innovating, trying to do new stuff, testing new stuff out. Like you guys said, huge step in the right direction. Doing away with split deck in those final matches. That's huge, right? That's the biggest platform, and all they can do is keep testing different stuff out and seeing how it's received. No one's ever really going to know unless platforms like this exist and we can talk about it. And you guys can give your opinions. You can have other professionals and other people that are very big entities in this sport to give their opinions. That's the only way, really. That's the only way I see it happening, but we're definitely going in the right direction.
Couldn't agree more, man. Yeah, the connectivity and just the positive atmosphere in the game is like it's never been before. And it really does have those early 2000 vibes going on.
Oh, yeah.
It does, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Bob, this is my last question from the Discord, and it's from our man, Slayman. Shout out to the GOAT Life.
Slayman.
Bobby, as someone who works in the paintball manufacturer side, what are some of the reasons we don't have more variety for fill colors? Hearing some ideas about having 5 separate fill colors so it can be easier to determine hit confirms for players. That's news to me. I haven't heard that one. I've heard that idea proposed before, but I don't think anyone's really considering it. Also, will we ever see a change to this stealth shell, which is just dark and doesn't have a lot of flare or visibility for newer players to see the lanes pros are holding on the fields?
Yeah, in the fill color question, I'm pretty confident every manufacturer has a variety of fill colors. We do pretty much anything you can think of aside from red. I think more so what he's seeing is just what's the norm, right? The norm in paintball is orange, yellow, and then white. Those are the top 3 that most fields will just, always ask for and always buy. You do have several field owners that ask for a different color just to have a field protective color or whatnot. But due to just the mass, I suppose the mass manufacturing of those most wanted colors is why that's primarily what he sees. And then in relation to the shell color, that's a good question. I think that's more so something that should be geared towards the NXL as an organization. I do recall several years back them wanting to use a much brighter shell. So there's almost like a tracer that people can see via the webcam a little bit easier. But I think that was fully shut down by the players for whatever reason. But no, I think that would be interesting. You could definitely try it out at some of these Go Sport practices, and over at X Factor, I know that they have some of the practices being out there filmed by Go Sports. Maybe make it mandatory for whatever participating teams are out there to purchase or get whatever light colored shells their sponsor has in stock, and see how it goes. Because it does make sense, right? Like as far as
Totally.
a viewer, you definitely want to see the tracers a little bit better. The darker shell makes it difficult for not only the viewers to see, but also the players to see. But yeah, I think that's an interesting question, and that's definitely something that is possible. Just organize that practice. Everybody shoot bright shell and see how it goes.
Yeah, I recently just had this conversation with a player. I can't remember from where, but they were talking about the same thing. Like, and I'm kind of open to it. I think that we need to really make this for the viewer. Also, as a paintball player, it is hard to see those dark shelled paint. You can still see the stream, but obviously if you turn that into a bright neon colored ball, you're going to see every stream out there. And so will the viewers too. It could help a lot with being able to read streams and see where that paint's at, which is super important to know the flow of the game and how we're, choosing to make moves out there.
Yeah, agreed 100% there.
Yeah. I don't have any more questions. I think that's all from the PTG world. Bob, we're just so damn honored to have your story on the show, bro. Thank you for everything that you do in the game, man. Continued success for many, many years to come. And I can't wait to be an old man still playing this crazy game. Hopefully we'll be on a team together someday again and get to run around out there.
We'll be on a little mech team out there.
Yeah, let's go.
Right on, guys. I really appreciate you guys having me on. I had to squeeze it in with Rogan's podcast I did earlier. A couple other ones I had lined up, but finally we knocked it out.
Dude, we love you. Thank you for coming on the show, man.
Love you guys.
You have a great night, and we'll talk to you soon, brother.
All right, fellas. I'll see you.
All right. Peace.
Peace.
All right, listeners, that was an amazing episode with Bobcat. Again, just one of our best friends, a longtime friend and teammate, and somebody who has done so much for the community paintball, for myself as well. If you guys would like, you could head over to ptgpaintball.com and listen to all of our episodes, see all of our shows right there, our YouTube, our audio channel, everything's connected. If you would like, you can blah, blah, blah. If you would like, you can get access to our Discord by clicking the Patreon link. Becoming a supporter at any level will give you access, and we are greatly appreciative of it. So, as always, everybody, thank you guys so much, and you already know we will see you very soon.